Clobberin time!
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
Leave out alone.
Sure, leave out.
Scotty, as good as your word.
Aye, sir. The more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain.
It is green.
No bloody A, B, C, or D.
And they probably redesigned the whole sick bay, too. I know engineers, they love to change things.
Hot milk.
I have had enough of you!
Your agonizer, please.
It's clobbering time!
Clobberonimo!
Yeah, it is clobbering some time. Or time for some clobbering. Or something. It's some kind of time. It is time for sure. There's not like there's no time. There's plenty of time to hang out with my buddies tonight. I tell you what, it's going to be different, but it's going to be us, all us, my friends. Welcome to Clobbering Times, issue number 567 on YouTube, of course. That's just YouTube numbers. 1,260. I said 7. I'm sorry, 564. Sorry, on YouTube. 1,264 overall for the last 14 years. And last week made 14 years. And it is not only that. The other number it is Saturday night Star Trek number 116. except we're doing something a little bit different tonight, as I'm sure you all know. I hope I got the word out to all of you. We're just going to kind of I don't know. I don't even know what we're going to be doing, but we will not be reviewing any episodes tonight because our wonderful first officer, the magnificent Commander R.M. Briggs, could not be here. She had an away mission, something very important that she had to do, and I'm with her in spirit. I hope we love you out there. If I know you're not hearing us directly right now, but we love you, number one, and we hope you are having a successful and fun away mission tonight. And big shout out to you, everyone. Shout out to our wonderful first officer. And of course, we will resume our reviews next Saturday night, my good friends. But tonight, it's just Yuzi and Meezy. And maybe I think our chief engineer will be along shortly, I'm sure, when he can. He had a mission to take care of. But, the engineers, they love to change things. But hopefully our chief engineer, Mark D. with the C, will join us in a little bit. So, hey, good to see you all. I'm just so glad to see you tonight. And don't worry, it's Saturday Night Star Trek. So I promise we will do some Trek talking. In fact, why don't I set the stage for that by getting all the business out of it? I will get my show notes. I will get my show notes out of the way, and then I will do some shout outs. And by the way, I do believe next week I'll have a members stream, which will be a different night, of course, not tonight, but obviously because this is different. But Pleasant Valley says, "What? Will I post a link for us to join fans to join the panel sometime for one time? No, I mean not tonight, or not on a Saturday night or anything. But I am going to do like I said, a member stream where we all get together soon. Again, it's been a long time since I did that last one. So let's see here. Well, sorry about that PvP. That's just the way we roll here on Saturday nights. But I know I understand that. I'm sorry you're disappointed, but I mean it's just it's not only hard to talk. I understand it's hard to talk in the chat, but it's also hard to talk with a whole bunch of us on a panel. Nothing really gets said much either. So anyway, but that's just the way it is here. Every show's different, way it goes. Though, let's see here. Show notes. Let's give me some show notes, Danielle. Up in here. Show notes. All right. Coming up, of course, tomorrow night on the Geekery. I don't know exactly what time he's going to be doing it, but the great sorry. I'm definitely, don't worry, I'm going to shout everyone out. I don't know, but I think the great Mark D with a C will have, excuse me, will have the Sunday night Geekery tomorrow night at the usual time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see. Also, Monday night, of course. By the way, the great J-Man, who I think is here. Monday night, I will be joining the great J-Man on his channel at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, to continue our reviews. Oh, that's the wrong one. I always put the wrong one up there. Continue our reviews of the Legion of Superheroes appearances for the comics fans out there. It'll be our third time. We will be in chronological order all the appearances of the Legion of Superheroes from 1958, their inception, to 1989 when they ended, or at least for me they ended. What can I tell you? I'm biased, big time biased that way when it comes to my Legion. I'm as biased when it comes to my Legion as I am when it comes to my Star Trek. So I am very excited about that. We're having a great time doing that on Monday nights. And then, of course, after that, I will be doing my regular spot, Monday night Mark C. Comics Talk. Let's see. I forgot to put it up there, didn't I? Where did I put my... Man, I always forget to put stuff. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, there we go. All right. Yes, and then Monday night, after that at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, my normal time slot, Mr. Jason Sandberg will be joining me again, the comic book author, creator, artist of Jupiter. It is a crowdfunded comic that we talked about a couple of Mondays and back on my show. We'll be doing that again, and so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And of course, then call all the usual 9 p.m. Central Standard shows that will be going on, like the Wednesday night show and the Clubhouse and all of that good stuff. And then next week, we'll bring you 4 more episodes reviewed of Deep Space Nine. Let's see who is here with us this evening. I'm trying to get all the names, everyone. Okay. All right. Make sure I got everybody. Definitely a Legion bias there, buddy. I admit it. Let's see who's contacting me of all times now. What the? All right. I don't even know what happened to my phone. Apology, everybody. It's bad enough it's an open talk show for me to be so unprofessional. But, the way we roll up in here, we just got a bunch of friends hanging out. All right, let's see. We will do our great wrenches shout out. First, of course, whether they're here or not, the great Eric K., the bronze wrencher himself. And I hope you were doing, I haven't seen Eric in a while. I hope he's okay. Hope he's doing better out there. And, of course, the Vindicated Wrench of the North, the great Chris Persia. Thank you for all you do, buddy. I really appreciate you. D. Bud Martin, the Wrench of Iron. Had a great time hanging out with D. Bud the other night, last Wednesday. They're reviewing that comic, and I appreciate you, bud. The God of Wrenches himself, Lord Thoth. Shout out to you, sir, and your wonderful lady, Thoth. Avon lives, long live the Legion. J-Man, buddy, my partner in crime on Earth B. And by the way, we got one of those coming up soon. My partner in crime on Earth B and a fellow Legionnaire reviewer and the Wrench Without Fear. And by the way, yes, I did forget that, didn't I? Oh, we got an Earth B coming up a week from this Wednesday. We will return back to Earth B. Will my good buddy J-Man and I for another presentation of the Wacky World of Bob Haney. Looking forward to that. And let's see here. Also, there is the Hungry Boy, Master of the Clobberin, the great Maddie's daddy, who's here with us tonight. Looks like I'm sorry, that's Maddie's daddy right there. Wielder of Wrench Monier, the great Kal-El. Sorry, I got him backwards there. Kal-El, Super Wrench Supreme, and of course the great Phantom Outsider. Fanty, what's up, dude? And now, let me see. Hey, look, hey, Salty. My goodness, hello there. I'm gonna start shouting you all out now, and I'll start with thank you for that super sticker, my friend. Salty Traveling Sea. It is good to see you. And I hope you were having a fantastic Saturday night. Thank you for that, sir. You are too kind. Let's see. Get my I do appreciate it, my friend. All right, I got I'm watching the chat. It's difficult to do both. You'd be surprised how much Raquel helps me with all this stuff. Keeps me in order there. Nevertheless, we will persevere here. Okay. Let's see up in here. Shooter, what's up, buddy? Good to see you tonight, man. So glad you are here. Pew pew and all that. Brian Hepburn, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here tonight. Classic Comics, what's up, CC? I hope you're doing well, buddy. Pleasant Valley Picker, hey PVP. I'll get you on there one of these nights. I would love to talk to you sometime, man. And of course, if you can't make it for a member stream or something, we'll get you on some other kind of way. Linrod. Good to see you, Linrod. Thank you for being here. Mr. Angel, what's up, Chef? Hope you're feeling well. Oh man, Joseph Dredd. I haven't seen you. I've seen you here before, I think. Love that name, and I love me some Judge Dredd, and that is, of course, Joe Dredd himself. You are the law. Oh my goodness, look who's here. Ptolemy's Minion. And you can't have her here without having the pupper. The pupperoni, as our wonderful first officer would say. It's good to see you there. Good to see you. Let's see here. Matt G, what's up, buddy? Michael Beacom, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And shout out to the wonderful Cassandra. JT Kurt, what's up, buddy? Enigmatic Drop Bear, my friend. Oh, right. So great to see you as always, buddy. Thank you for being here. Simply Steve 68. What's up, buddy? Always good to see you. Dave G Sound. Mighty Orbots. Hey there, Mighty Orbots. Good to see you. Hey, Admiral Teague, what's happening, man? Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being here. And the aforementioned Salty Traveling Sea. Again, thank you so much. And, of course, Wolfie's here. Yeah. And Zathras is here. Boy, Zathras, I wish you'd have been here the other night, man. I had a lot of fun talking me some Babylon 5. I've been dipping back into watching me some B5 again. Yes, Fanty Outsider. I saw those recreations. Yeah, but I did see those. One of the Roddenberry Legacy videos. I've been keeping up with those. I've seen it. They're great stuff. Yep. Now that I've got the shout outs, I can as anyone who trickles in, I will definitely try to get them written down. Now I can see the chats. Obviously, on these busy nights where we're reviewing stuff, I don't get to see the chat as much as I would need to. Otherwise, I could never concentrate and get much done. I see it sparingly, on and off, but I can't concentrate on it that much because I have other things to concentrate on. But tonight, I can see it a little bit better and just talk to you guys a little bit. Linrod says, for example, I've never seen B5. Someday I'll get to it. You should. Absolutely. JT Kirk. Clobberin times. How about a poll? Which Death Star trench run is better? One, the Luke's X-Wing, and I never even say New Hope, but I know what you mean. I know why you have to say it. To me, it's just Star Wars. Occasionally, I'll throw 77 on there as a qualifier. Millennium Falcon and Return of the Jedi. Quite a good one. Or the idiotic, garbagey, stupid scene in PR Season 3 with Enterprise D where Data flies in there. Yeah. I think I'm going to pick the original. Although as much I have issues with Return of the Jedi as a movie, I've grown more fond of it over the years. But that is a great scene, the Death Star trench scene in Return of the Jedi. Bush Pan Down. Welcome. Hey, good to see you there. All right. Hey, Maddie said it's cool. Just good to have you lurking there, bro. I hope you and Maddie are doing well tonight, man. But I should do a poll I should have thought of a poll to do. We're laughing when Picard flew into the Borg cube. Oh, so yeah, it was so bad. I guess that's the one thing we could kind of touch on tonight. I know it's not Star Trek because the filth is not Star Trek. Anything after? Hey, Rod Thunderheart. Whoa, what's up, dude? What is up, man? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Hungry boy, dude, there you are. I shouted you out, but you deserve another shout out there. Captain Infinity and beyond. What is up with your bad self, Captain Infinity? Captain Infinity, sir, you're come to the right place at the right time. Because even though we're not reviewing the episodes this week that we thought we were going to, There's an episode that was going to be this week, but since Raquel couldn't be here, obviously we're doing it next week. Man, we're going to need you on that one. Yeah, we are boy. If we ever needed the time police, my friend, and you are the constable of chronology. You are constable chronology. Blah. Counselor chronographer. That's you, Captain Finnerty. You are the constable of Chronos. You're the chrono counselor. You're the chrono cop. That's you, man. I know you get tired of all the time travel stuff, but anyway, yeah, we got an episode for you next week. Jesus Christ! I got to tell you all something. I was not. I mean, I'd forgotten that we were gonna. I wasn't exactly sure we were gonna not be doing the episodes this week, so I went in and watched them, and then Raquel reminded me and whatever. So, which is no problem, of course. But I was like, man, oh man, I'm gonna be yelling. I'm gonna be Temperus Maximus at your service. Good, because I got. Not to be too spoilery, man. I got some yelling to do about next week. That's all I can say. Oh boy. So yeah, it would be the first one we review out of the box next week. And if you happen to be available, Finnerty, it's I think we would be interested in your input on that episode. As a matter of fact, let me find I'll tell you which one it is so you'll know. Next week on Saturday at Star Trek, we will be reviewing, as always, 4 episodes. It's called Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. Now, some here have not seen it yet, so I don't want anyone to go spoilery on it. Okay? So no one go spoilery on this, because there are some who wait and watch them. But oh yeah, ED, absolutely. Just saying. That one. And there are episodes next week that I like, actually. But holy mother of God, I mean, I can't believe it. I don't know. I just don't know. I think I got a threat. I got a threat on one of my videos. Pretty cool. I never get threats that often. I think somebody wants to beat me up. Wow. Well, they better be the Hulk, right? Anyway. I can't tell because someone I don't know talked about Clobberin something. And I think they were aiming that at me on a video. Weird. Okay. This is me shaking. There you go. I'm shaking all over. No kidding. Did somebody looks like they threatened me on a video I did last week. Well, what can you do? I don't know. It was vague. It was vague. It may have been talking about something else. But hey, Vic Fontaine, what you say there, dude? Vic Fontaine is here. James Darren. Oh my goodness, Jill's here, or at least. Oh, thank you, Jill. You didn't have to do that, my sweet. Thank you. You're too kind. She says, I'm out of town and busy with family tonight, but I had to stop by and say hello to my favorite Star Trek group, Clobby, Raquel, Mark, and the chat are the best. How's your going to? I can read your chat that way. I should have read it that way. I'm out of town and busy with family tonight, but I had to stop by to say hello to my favorite Star Trek group, Clobby, Raquel, and Mark. So I should be merciful to them and say hello to the chat. How's your gorn tonight? Oh boy, sorry if that was a bad one. I wasn't really prepared, but love you, Jill. Thank you so much. You're too kind. Thank you. Our wonderful Jill. There we go. And yes, that hurt. Yeah, look, no, okay, so not kidding. Someone on I think last Monday night's Monday Night Marksy Comic Talk video. I guess that was last week. Said I'm going to be doing a little clobbering of my own. Little clobbering on my mortal enemy. So I don't know who he's talking to. So it's just like, so when you put something like that, just be clear what you're talking about. It's all that really matters. It could be talking something innocent or whatever. Not that I care, but yeah. Hey, Midnight's Edge After Dark. What's up, dude? Yes, sir. I was waiting. I know the chief engineer might be here later. What's up, Tom? What you doing, man? Yeah, Raquel had to do something tonight, so this is the first time in like we've been doing this 2 years. It's only like the third time that she's had to go out for us. So yeah. Oh man, but so yeah, we're just doing like an open thing with no reviews this week. Good to see you, Tom. How's it going, man? But I was Mark D. Everyone, don't worry, Mark D. will be here eventually. But so I just kind of throw, as long as we keep it mostly Trek. Let's see here. He says, Hunger, would you actually want to make physical contact with a weirdo that would threaten Clobby? Let's just nuke him from the face. Thank you, Fanty. Oh, man, I can handle it. Like I say, I don't even know if it's, oh, cool. I'll throw you, hey, Retro Nerd Girl, I'll slim one out to you, Tom. You know, I never like to ask because I know how busy you always are. All right. Retro Nerd Girl, lovely lady, how are you? It is good to see you. Let's see here. Bop. Bop, 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 bop. There you go, Tom, if you were so inclined. So a little open talk Trek tonight. Let's see. Good to see, well, Retro Nerd Girl, it's always wonderful to see you. I know you had a great stream tonight. You did a watch party tonight. Hey, look who's here, the great Tom Connors, Midnight's Edge After Dark. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man.
How you doing?
What's up? Oh, pretty good. What you doing tonight, man?
There. Oh, just chilling. I gotta ask you though, how are you taking the rumor, the very strong rumor about the thing?
Let's see here. For those who don't know,
not to change Trek talk right away, but I had to ask you.
No, it's fine. Let me get this one first from Rod Thunder. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate Rod Thunderheart for the $5 Canadian super chat, or $5.50. Sorry. He says just a few bucks to help you, brother. Oh, dude. Well, you're too kind. You didn't have to do that, man. I'm returning to wrestling soon. See you through Love 2 coming soon. Love you all. Well, good to see you there, my brother. Always appreciate that, and enjoy the wrestling there, brother. I'll be here.
Rod Thunderheart.
Indeed, Mr. Thunderheart. So for those who don't know, some of you may look, Dee Dee Myers. What's up, Dee Dee? I hope I'm getting to see you in a dog's age, man. Good to see you. I hope you and your wife are doing well. So there's a rumor again. It would be pretty ridiculous even 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Now it's anything. You could come out and say they were going to replace him with a hubcap, and it could be believable. I mean,
well, and I really thought it was like somebody pulling our leg until TMZ reported it.
Not only is there possibility, but it's not even going to be Sharon Ventura. It's going to be Ben Grimm changed into a woman's name.
I'm not 100% sure, because here's the thing that's going around with the newer update is that they're looking at both male and female actors to play the Thing. And Mila Kunis is one of the individuals who was in the running. I got to agree with some people when they say, yeah, clearly if Mila Kunis is already being rumored, the chances are, even if it's not her, they're going to gender swap this character, which makes sense. So you'd have two men, two women.
Which I believe from the beginning anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what my thoughts on it is this. The Fantastic Four movie, well, I don't have to tell you what the Fantastic Four mean to me. So it's DOA no matter what happens. There's only one person in the existence of the cosmos. No, two, but he's no longer with us. So the only living, breathing being in the entire universe that I trust to make a Fantastic Four movie, you're talking to him. And I've never even made a movie.
Right.
I don't trust anybody else.
Yeah.
No matter who else, anybody else makes it. That's not true. There are probably a couple people that might. I don't know if any in Hollywood at the moment. So since Jack Kirby can't rise from the grave and do it himself and run the thing, anything they do will be wrong to me. I'm sorry if this is the way I'm going to be about it. And hey, I'm only one guy, so it's not hurting anybody. It's just me, right? So whatever they do, because I know they have no intention of getting this thing even close to right. I hope this is true. I hope it's as horrible and stupid. I hope they challenge Fan Four Stick for bad. And that's, if you can be worse than Fan Four Stick.
Yeah, that would take some talent.
Almost, you don't always have to. You know how that was made by people with lack of talent, almost.
Pretty
you
much.
You have to be talented to work to top that, or bottom that.
Well, I just wanted to gauge your reaction to that, because I thought it was kind of funny to myself. Yeah, I'm just like,
yeah, it's
wow,
man, dude, it's so. I thought Rod again. Thank you, Rod. He says, honestly, I love this channel. I don't know why no one really loves it. Let's be honest. I'm just kidding, but thank you, Rod. He says, you two restored my love.
You're so hard on yourself.
That's true, because he lumped Raquel in there. Now I can't say. But we're just saying. Yes, sorry. As a Canadian, I'm contractually obligated to watch the playoffs. That's okay. Even I watch the playoffs.
We can talk about Star Trek though now.
No.
I just wanted to hear your reaction to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to that point now that they can't upset me. Fan Four Stick proved to me, as if I didn't know already, that no one is ever going to get close. There are certain things that have to be done for me to an FF movie for an FF movie to work. First of all, it needs to be a period piece for it to work. Their origin does not work in this modern time at all. There's nothing you can do. Even in those stupid Sony movies, they had to fiddle with the origin. As much as I didn't like it, I almost understood it, because it doesn't work the same way, because of their 1961 origin was kind of tethered to that time period, really. Tetrarch of Apathy, hello there. That name gets me every time. I really, I was going to make an apathy joke. Never mind. It wouldn't work though. So,
no, I mean, it's sad that we've gotten to this point. I guess that the unreleased version of the Fantastic Four from Roger Corman is probably the best we're ever going to get.
People say that a lot. You know what? It's still a bad movie. I mean, it's
no argument there. It's not even finished. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, at least for what's there, for the most part,
right.
Yeah, there's some changes to it. Like you said, you can't get away from the time frame change. You can't get away from certain things. I don't think they had the rights to that one character, so they had to change up the name, but he's basically the same character, the mole or whatever.
The Mole Man, but I don't understand why they couldn't use the Mole Man, but they could use Dr. Doom. I don't. That never made any sense to me.
I guess they just didn't pay for the rights, or they lost the rights, or whatever. Who knows? Or they had to pay extra for it, and they're like, "Fuck it, we don't want to pay extra." So
it could be. So they said, "Look, we'll buy one villain from you, but we won't buy another."
My guess is that Dr. Doom came with the Fantastic Four, but Mole Man didn't.
Mole Man was the first villain ever fought, so he's in the comics.
I know, but that doesn't mean he came with the, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not in the deal. I guess he wasn't popular.
Yeah, and maybe they thought he did, and so he was in the script already. And by the time they realized they had to pay extra, they're like, "Fuck this," and they just changed his name, kind of like Dr. Mordred. I'm sure you know the story behind that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember that. By the way, it could be that Roger Corman's just dumb.
And I apologize for the language. I know you probably don't speak. I'm sorry. I got to watch my F words.
Don't worry about that. Just Saturday night. We don't care. Oh man, don't worry about that. But no, you're right. It was. But anyway, yeah. The point is, you're right. This is probably the best. Although there are decent things about those two Sony movies, but there are a lot of things wrong with it. And it's kind of keeping with Star Trek in a sense, because the Fantastic Four are the most Star Trek thing Marvel has. So Andy Masterson, dude.
Well, there's a video for you if you ever get ambitious. You can sit there and you can go through and chart which one has the most comic accurate stuff in it. And I bet, and this is just my guess, is by the time you get down to it, the Roger Corman is going to be by far the one that's the most comic accurate.
Oh yeah,
just because of so many things. Like, I mean, you got just the minor things, even, right? Like, how they messed with Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four movies, all of them. Past that, like the one, at least in the Corman one, is pretty close to the actual Doctor Doom. They've got the age difference between Reed Richards and Sue, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's all pretty much there. The only difference between that and the original comics, pretty much, I mean, outside of some minor things, I'm sure, is just the time period, like you said. So I'd be interested to see that, because we all know Fan Four Stick would have like nothing in common.
Man,
it'd be the worst of the bunch on the other end, but yeah.
You do know my story with the Fan Four Stick, don't you? Because I know yours. It's part of your origin, really, too. This channel, right?
Partially. I mean, honestly, I'm not 100% sure. You may have, and I just forgot. But offhand, why don't you just tell it, just because it's fun?
I'll get back to Trek, but it's still. I don't know if you know this. That I live in right down the street from where that was filmed.
Okay, I think you may have said this before. Okay,
here.
Yeah.
And I happened to be working for a big printing company at the time, and of course, I'm every day I would drive to work. When I would pass that city, like, screw you. I knew what was going on. I was like, joking. I'm like, oh God. But one day we had a bunch of stuff to bring over there. I brought a whole bunch of. This was like burning hot summertime of 2000. I don't know, 14 or whatever it was. And it just so happened I had to bring a whole bunch of stuff to the office where that thing was being filmed. I didn't get to go to the studio or anything, but it was right next to it. And I brought it. I got a dolly and I put a bunch of like boxes on there to bring it up. And anyway, after I make the delivery, I'm walking out of there, and I just so happened to be. I didn't know I was going there. So when I left work the morning, I didn't know. I happened to have a Kirby Fantastic Four shirt on. No shite. I mean, weird enough, right? And right. I'm walking out, and it's burning hot, and I'm looking up. I guess I'm walking down these stairs. I'm not paying too much attention, and I glance over at that big old warehouse-looking studio. And go, start grumbling and like joking to myself about what a bunch of hope the place blows up. Just kidding, just being dumbass. And being more of a dumbass, I tripped over the dolly and went tumbling down onto the concrete. And even back then, I was a fairly sizable fellow. Damn. And busted up my knees. I mean, bad. I'm laying on there bleeding down on the ground. And I look up over at that warehouse, and I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, hurt like a mother, but I just kept laughing my ass off. Like, it figures right here. Wearing my Fantastic Four shirt. It just figures. There's something weird about that. I don't know. Anyway.
I was hoping the place blew up.
I was hoping to. Oh, yeah. But then again.
It's like, that's a perfect end to that story. Even though I hurt my knees, at least it blew up.
Yeah, that would have been. Then, are you kidding me, though? I'm glad nothing bad happened. I would be the biggest suspect to go, well, it did happen in the same city with you, dude. And, not many people listen to your podcast, but we've heard some of the rotten things you've been saying.
Well, then again, I don't know. Trank had enough enemies. They probably would have just thought it was one of his drug dealers or something.
Well, if they'd heard granted, not many people did, but if they'd heard my show then, I would have. I'm not even kidding. I would have been a suspect if anything bad happened to them.
All right. Well,
nasty. I admit it.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, just another red shirt. Good to see you, buddy. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, no, it's an open night. Yeah, we'll talk a little Trek here and there, but we're not reviewing Trek. It's kind of a good break. I know everybody was we do it every week, so and we're just we miss Raquel, of course, but we'll be back next week reviewing episodes, so it's not that big of a deal. There's not much going on in the Trek world anyway, so and at least a certain thing that had been airing for the past couple of weeks is finally over. Yeah,
well, I figured I could stop in for a little bit, and even if it's talking Trek, there's always something to talk about.
Oh yeah, now because never really talked about Star Trek, so are you
not with you so much?
Are you? I mean, have you watched it much over your life? I mean, I never even know whether you were a fan at all. To be honest,
honestly, my introduction, besides it just being like, because to me, Star Trek is one of those things that was just always there, right? Like it was just a thing. You know, like my cousins liked it. My dad would watch it once in a while. People would watch it around me, whatever. You know, it was just there. I never really paid much attention to the show. The first time I remember though, like really getting invested in it was probably Star Trek 4. And that's one of the reasons why I always say that, like, that's one of the most accessible things to Star Trek to get somebody started on as a gateway drug to Star Trek, because you can watch Star Trek 4 and not know a darn thing about Star Trek and still enjoy it. It's just basically a movie about people from the future who need a whale. You know, like really at the end of the day. I mean, you can look at it as just kind of like goofy comedy about these guys from the future who need a whale to save the planet. I mean, the fact that it's a Star Trek film is inconsequential until you realize who these characters are and what came before and so on. But then, of course, you know, Star Trek The Next Generation is probably where I first kind of really, you know, I mean, I remember seeing Star Trek 5 when it came out. Didn't remember liking it so much. So, like, that was kind of my end of the movies for a bit there. But TNG was always one of those things that was, like, really big when it first came out, I remember. And of course, I know it took a couple of years to get rolling, like a lot of, like, you know, as it did. But, you know, after a while, it was one of those shows that I would soak up episodes here and there. You know, never really sought it out myself, but just, you know, I'd be at my grandma's or whatever, and an episode would be on when we eat supper, or, you know, then it became a thing where they started showing it right after Siskel and Ebert on Sunday nights.
Oh, yeah.
So I started watching it a bit more. And of course, by this point, it was in syndication, and God, they already had to be in season 5 or 6 at this point, because a lot of the episodes I was seeing were from like season 4 and 5, I think, if I remember right. But then like then the movie came out, Generations and stuff like that. I remember seeing that in the theaters. All the Generation movies I saw in the theater, because my cousin was a pretty big fan. So he's like, "Oh, you want to go see the movie?" Because he, you know, wanted somebody to go see the movie with, and he knew I was into nerdy shit. So he's like, "You want to go see the Star Trek movie?" I'm like, "Sure." You know, so I actually enjoyed the Star Trek Generation movies at the time. I didn't really understand some of the animosity people had until later, talking to guys like you guys, really kind of understanding the difference, and then going back and rewatching TNG, because I had not really watched the show in probably 10, 15 years or better at that point, like, you know, over time as we got going. But like the movies were always readily accessible, so I could just watch them whenever.
Sure. Yeah.
So like my TNG was kind of more the movies for a while, until I realized there was a bigger difference, especially like with First Contact, right? Like, 'cause that was generally my more favorite of the bunch, like most people's. But then now watching them now compared to then, after seeing a lot more TNG, because I just watched them now for the first time, because it's kind of reversal. Now I hadn't seen the TNG movies in probably 10 years. Now I've seen a lot more TNG in the last 10 years. To where I've been like, oh gosh, now I can see why people don't like them so much. But out of all 4 of those movies, Insurrection's the most like a TNG episode. Kind of like how TMP is the most like a Star Trek episode, you know? So like in retrospect, but like, so that was kind of my getting into it. And then I watched Enterprise when it came on. Never really got into DS9 or Voyager so much. I've seen random episodes in here and there, but I couldn't name half the characters, or I'd probably end up saying, you know, the crew for the one and the other. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I have to sit down and remember which one's which. So I'm not like that nerdy on that stuff. But then like, I'm sure I've told you this story real quick though, but so 2009 though, when that movie came out, at that point I was a little bit more versed Trek fan. That was by that point I'd seen Enterprise and all that kind of stuff. And, my girlfriend at the time wanted to go see the new Star Trek movie. And I'm like, I want to see that shit. She's like, why not? You love Star Trek. And I'm like, for all the reasons you want to go see that movie, I don't. She's like, it looks fun. I'm like, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Star Trek's not that I'm saying Star Trek isn't supposed to be fun, but not Star Wars kind of fun.
No.
I said, now, and I said, another thing is you're never going to convince me anybody but William Shatner is Captain Kirk, and Leonard Nimoy and all that kind of stuff. And I got to admit, like, going into the movie, I was kicking and screaming, like almost probably literally going into it, because she talked me into it and there was nothing else to really see at the time. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. Half hour or so into the movie, basically when what's his face comes in his bones.
Clobberin. Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. Like, again, I totally understand these are not the same characters. What helped me at first was the whole obvious time change thing, alteration. So I'm like, okay, this is on its own timeline, fine. Like, at that point, I was just like, whatever. 'Cause that's what I kind of said to her at the time. I'm like, okay, fine, at least they did that. You know, it's like, so it doesn't really
so much.
I know. In retrospect, I hate it more now, but like, yeah. So, but like by that point in the movie, when because like I'm like, okay, this guy is nailing Bones, right? Not necessarily the same character, but I did at that time.
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
mean, I
okay,
like the actor, but
yeah, and so like at that point, I'm like, all right. So I gave it a little bit of a shot, and then I was kind of on board about halfway through, right? And of course, like you and most people, even if you did like it at the time, most people are like me. They can admit that a lot of the shit in that movie don't make sense. Like, just beyond the non-Star Trek-y stuff. Like,
Right.
Why didn't Nero just go warn the people about the whole thing to begin with when he went back? You have a time
he
machine.
was back in time. He could have easily warned everything about
like
him
Marty
was
McFly
idiotic.
said, what am I doing? I got a time machine.
Just blame red matter on everything.
I know. And again, like in retrospect, like obviously it all falls apart, and then Into Darkness really pissed me off. So you're like, yeah. Like I was at that point, I'm like, all right, you know, it's not the same thing. And that was kind of where my cousin was too. He's like, yeah, he was a little less, you know, like on board with it than I was. Cause I was like, you know, at least it's in its own timeline. He's like, yeah, that's the only reason I, you know, whatever. And I don't even think he went to see the second one, but
Hey
that's
there,
my
John.
long journey with Star Trek up until we got involved here in Midnight's Edge. And then of course, you know, where
Oh yeah.
I got
Hey John.
brought
John
into the
Shaggy
thick of
Rufus.
that.
John, good to see you, Rufus. Well, would you be surprised if I told you there's an actual, in a way, I almost love Into Dumbness?
There's things into Darkness that I do like.
No, there's nothing in the movies that I love, but I love the movie
Why is that?
because it was called. There's a word called vindication. That movie.
I
is
see what you're
ultimate
saying.
Vindication. So back in 09, this wouldn't be. I would never met anybody here without that piece of crap movie. So I owe it that because I started my show because of that.
Right.
And I was getting attacked. I mean, it was on a nothing ass little thing called Blog Talk Radio, but I pissed off a lot of people, even at Paramount, over on their Trek Space site way before I started the show. They were all mad at me. I used to get banned from the site. I used to get in all these arguments, a bunch of people who were arguing against the remake and stuff. But anyway, oh, look at this here. Cardinal Sin. What's up, buddy? Thank you for the $3 super sticker. You're too kind, Gil. I hope you are doing well tonight, man. And good to see you. So, I went through living hell with that movie, with getting in so many fights, people getting mad at me. And then about a couple of months after it came out, when I got just tired of all the fighting and the bickering, I was people started to change a little bit. People who were, I got people really mad at me, and because I was so brutal to the movie, they thought they were taking it personally. Like if I'm trashing the movie. If I'm calling the movie stupid, I must be calling you stupid if you like it, which I was not doing. But people get that way sometimes, you know? They'll take it personally. And so there was a lot of that kind of stuff, feelings getting involved with things. And what happened
We still get that now in our circle.
y'all get it. Yeah, it happens. It's in the human condition. Hey, Jay Picasso. Hello, good to see you. So anyway, some of these same people eventually started, okay, I hear you. I still like it, but I kind of see what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I'll tell you this. In the next one, if they screw with Khan, I'm going to be pissed. And that when they started saying that, I blew a gasket. I'm like, wait. So you'll accept them ruining all the core characters, the main characters, turning Kirk into a dumb frat boy, having Spock messing around with Uhura and blowing up Vulcan and red matter and all this other lousy shit. But Khan is a bridge too far, messing with Khan, and they were like, "Oh, we better not mess with Khan." It's like, look, I love Khan as much as the next Trek fan. He's been in a movie and an episode. He's not sacrosanct. If you ruin the main characters, who gives a shit about Khan? Oh, and so the years go by, right? And people were always talking about, oh, who should they cast for Khan? This one, that one, this or that one. And I was like, I don't care who they cast. It's not going to be monobots. Who gives a shit? SP4H. Hello there. So here we get, what was it? Mr. Cumberbund was cast, everyone was saying, "Hey, Sean Carter, good to see you." Everyone was saying, "Well, see that he's not going to be Khan." And I said, I think he is. And of course, Jar Jar Abrams comes along and says, "No. He's not Khan. He's not Khan."
That was the Khan.
The Khan. And the other castings in the first movie were all the kind of casting where there's no way you could say he's not Kirk, he's not Spock, even though they're really not, but because they're fairly similar types to the people that were trying, based on. Whereas this case, you didn't even go close to a Ricardo Montalban type, and it was being done for deniability and not even plausible deniability. So I named him John Cocktoast.
That's what really didn't make no sense to me, right?
Well, they did that. I'm saying they did that so he could lie. And then
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you get this other cast that, like you said, at least evokes the original characters for the most part. I would argue at least half of them do, right?
Right.
Like the main trio, they did okay with, right? At least we can all agree that there
was the same type, a basic type.
Yeah.
Roughly speaking, right? So I'm saying, when you get Khan, you expect the same deal, right?
Exactly my point. Yes, like you would think, okay, well, who's the closest to Ricardo Montalban? Like, yeah.
So he's John Harrison, but this guy's John Harrison. So about 4 or 5 months out, things are leaking out here and there and saying, "Hey, he's going to be." I don't think he's going to be Khan. And I said, "He's going to be freaking Khan." No, so it showed in Australia about a week or two before we got it. And a guy, I was talking to a buddy of mine who got to go see it. And the same thing happened with this movie that happened with the first piece of garbage. Wiki dropped the plot of it. I remember when Wiki dropped the plot of the first 09 one, and I read it. I'm like, this is a joke. No, nothing this stupid happened in this movie. I'm laughing. I said, no one would do anything this dumb. I was being naive, of course. And I remember laughing at them until someone from Australia, and hey, Blunt Philly Reviews, good to see you. Someone in Australia had confirmed to me that first one was real. So when it came on to the second one, the same deal happened. And I talked to Finn. He said, "Yeah, he's Khan. That's true." I said, "Come on, really? He's Khan?" And then it came out, and look, I was thinking people were just going to suck it up and defend it and just love it. He's got that scene where he goes, "My name is Khan." I almost felt, because I didn't go pay money to see this. What's up, buddy?
Oh, you're not
Fascinating.
That's tough when I get here. Hi, everyone.
Anyway,
just kidding. Hi, Tom.
You know what happened.
Yo.
You know what happened, Tom. But what happened with this case, it pissed off people who love that first piece of shit. Were furious that they did this with Khan. And I was like, oh my God, I'm laughing at you people. Khan, look at me, I'm laughing.
Like, again, like, I already knew already, like, that part wasn't the problem. To me, it was just the whole idea that you did it in the first place. Right? Like, that was my issue to me. It was like, why?
I was so...
just because
it's Jar Jar
you wanted to because he had to put his tramp stamp all over Wrath of Khan. That's why.
Yeah, well, look, that's one. But here's my point: was this? I'm telling them, hey, look, you shit rewarded is shit repeated. You guys keep going back to seeing this movie all over again. People are going to see this goddamn movie. I mean, the 09 movie. You're loving it so much, and you're going to get another one, and it's going to be worse. Well, there you go. And that's Star Trek was destroyed by the collaborators and by the appeasers and the appeased and the people who just hogs at the trough. Whatever corporate slop gets slung out there, they'll go and just eat it all up.
I guess from my perspective, I was more one of those, like, I could understand why Quentin Tarantino would go, oh, I want to use this cast to do a classic Trek style story. Like, that's what I understood. Like, I was waiting for something like that, hopefully. Like, that's why I don't totally hate the third film as much as there are stupid in it. Like, that's the one that's, like, probably the closest to an actual Star Trek story. But it's still...
Except for the motorcycles.
Yeah, there's still so much stupid in it, right? Like, you're just like...
Same story, though. Vengeance.
You're not wrong. And honestly, I think I've only watched it once. I don't think I've ever returned to it. Same thing with the other two movies. I think I've rewatched them once on video after seeing them in the theaters.
Right.
And again, like with Into Darkness, it was because I was like trying to like figure the movie out because I knew I didn't like it, but there's things in it I do like. Like I liked to me, I was okay with them doing their own timeline thing and having the idea of, okay, you do have this warship and this general who's like a Patton type with RoboCop with the guy Peter Weller.
Was in that.
Peter Weller, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of liked how his character was kind of taking this like over the top, idea of turning basically Starfleet into a military, which I know goes against everything. But I was also cool with this idea of it's in an alternate timeline and don't fucking matter kind of thing. Like at that point, I was still cool with that.
Yeah,
and
but
there's some
meanwhile,
scenes. I know, dude. I know. Well, and still, it's still technically an alternate timeline, but I get you.
No,
I totally understand you. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, And then like I liked some of the scenes in the earlier parts of the movie, but that ending, like you said, it's like, why did you do this? And nothing from this point on makes any fucking sense whatsoever. Like even if it did in the first place, like you're still stretching and going out of your way to make it this other character that nobody wants it to be but you, right? And it's just so you can have this ending that twists the ending of Wrath of Khan around, and it's like, whatever, dude. And so at that point, I'm like, yeah. I was actually glad when Tarantino was involved because I thought if anybody's going to get to make one of these movies, it's going to be him, and that didn't even happen. So,
I was actually laughing at and terrified of him being involved until I listened to an interview, and I couldn't believe it because I'm a fan of
probably the one movies. I played for you.
You may have played it. It was someone where he's saying, he was telling someone in an interview, says, I want them to follow what the show. I don't want them changing anything. Did he say something along those lines?
He said, because he said he had a meeting with JJ, and he goes, look, I don't understand this. Somebody went back and changed the timeline. He's like, fuck that. I don't like that. And he's like, I don't get it. He goes, my editors tried to explain to me. I don't get it. And JJ said to him, nobody likes it. Nobody gets it. Do whatever you want. And so he's like, if you want all that stuff to have happened or is going to happen, whatever it is, you do whatever you want. So that's basically what Tarantino was working on. His whole idea was, I get that cast, right? Because he like me,
cast, right, yeah.
He saw in Chris Pine what I saw. I'm like, okay, I see this. Like, again, I totally agree with you guys. It was not the right story, but I could see Chris Pine playing a young Kirk. Like, he's got that. Same thing with, the other guys for the most part, other than like Zoe Saldana, who's just kind of like there. Like there's nothing about her screams Uhura, Nothing. Not a damn thing. I agree with that 110%. And then same thing with Simon Pegg as Scotty. He's okay.
He doesn't really work that well.
But he's not, he's too wacky. He's too Simon Pegg. You needed somebody a little more
grounded,
exactly. And if you did something like that, and see, that's the thing, Tarantino, I could see he would see Pegg doing that shit, and he'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? And Pegg would be like, oh, I'm just trying to be funny. You're like, well, fucking stop it, okay? Because Scotty's only funny when he's funny, okay? And he's not funny all the time.
Only when he's making green stuff.
He gets one joke, okay? The whole fucking show. That's it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was I was watching recently. Not to back. By the way, did they lose, Mark? Sorry.
Oh, they won. Actually, Rangers won a game.
Good.
They actually look like a team again. They went down 1-0. That's why I'm here late. If they were losing 6-0, well, not that I'm a fair weather fan, but it was a good game till the end. And they actually look. The one thing is when your team loses and they play like crap, you feel worse than if you lose to a better team or it's a good game. Just kind of like Star Trek, where they try to do these reboots and. It's just it just gets so depressing. It's like, why bother? I mean, going back to the second new movie, like for a few seconds you get smart Kirk there. You see Chris Pine using his brain.
Just the one other scene I like. Yes, go ahead.
That
sorry.
scene, that scene in the second movie. Just like the first 5 minutes, he's actually using his brains, and then it becomes a shooter fest after.
He's the one who's smart enough to realize, oh shit, we've got all these very important people in one place at one time in a very vulnerable position.
We're gonna get attacked.
Like he's the only guy, exactly. And that's one of the scenes I liked in the movie because that did feel like
I hate him, but at least, in his defense, he didn't know that there was going to be a helicopter transported from Kronos.
Yeah,
transported from another planet.
That's the dumb part of the fucking scene.
Yeah,
because like,
oh god,
I hate that.
Because Khan could do a million other things than that.
But they had a chance too. If you're going to do a reboot or switch things up, do something interesting, or make Khan the good guy. That's what I thought would have been interesting. Make Khan the good guy, and then have a new bad guy. Like have that kind of twist where Khan is like, saves Kirk maybe and realizes the error of his ways somehow. Don't make an eye.
Well, the whole thing doesn't make sense from the start, and this is where I'm sure I'll appeal to Clobby big time, is because from my understanding and memory of the whole thing, they stumbled upon him. Right? Like it was an accident.
Yeah.
This whole idea that they thawed him out early because of this shit makes no fucking... That's what I got pissed at the movie about. Because I'm like, okay, why are you doing this now? Because I was on board with this movie up until that point. Because I went into it kind of already figuring it was going to be Khan anyway. I was just like, okay, show me why. Right? I will at least go, okay, tell me why. And then I'll accept it, or I'll be like, I reject your hypothesis, come up with something better. By that point, I'm just like, okay, this makes no fucking sense. Like, you can't do that. Like, it just, even if it was an alternate timeline, this is another reason why I know Clobby will agree with me here, too, is why I say Flashpoint makes no fucking sense either.
I hate Flashpoint. Yeah.
It's like one stupid event doesn't change all these other things. Guess what? The butterfly effect is a pretty dumb theory, to be honest with you. You want to know why? Because if the butterfly effect actually happened, then it would basically be what Doc Brown said. It would undo existence, right? So there's only one of two things that happen.
Kutcher, though, I thought that was one of his better movies.
You can, it's fine, and I get the concept and the idea of it, but the problem with that is you have one of two things that'll happen. Either the world is like Back to the Future, and time will just right itself somehow. Whether it's, the Biff Tannen future, or it's our original future, or the future that they ended up messing with to begin with, or you have the whole time and space undo itself like Doc said, right? So, like, at that point, like, you can't really mess around with that too much. So anyway, just
do you have free will? Yeah, that's the timeless question.
Yeah, so like the whole idea of them being able to figure out that this is Khan and stumble upon him early just because of what? Then you got to give me a good fucking reason for that too, right? Like who found him? If it wasn't the Enterprise, then who?
Yeah,
and how?
Hey, Grim, good to see you.
Hey, Grim.
Well, all I can tell you is this: in the dumbness, there's one of the funniest movies scenes in all of movie history, in my opinion. Again, because like the first piece of garbage movie, I didn't pay to go see it because there's just no way I was going to go to a theater and risk that kind of an aneurysm. So I decided just to sit at home and watch it. Like the night it came out, an R copy. And a buddy of mine, we're sitting there, Minimus and I are sitting there watching it. I'm just sitting there kind of laying on the couch laughing. It's been 3 years since the last. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just laughing at how stupid it is. And then when Spock Boy yells, when he yells, but not like that. When Zachary Quintface yells, I mean, I fell off the couch laughing. I couldn't stop laughing for like 5 minutes. It was so stupid. I said, before he did it, when I'm building up to him, like, he's not going to do it. We both looked at each other. He's not really going to. Yeah, they wouldn't do something this idiotic.
They wouldn't be
that.
They're
going to try. Right? They wouldn't be stupid enough to do the Khan yell, were they? No. And then they did it. I was like, holy shit. It's the funny
I wonder
thing.
how many takes that took. I'd love to see the outtakes.
I mean, at some point, you got to have some self-awareness. And some guys got to say, Jar Jar, that's a legendary thing in movie history and stuff. And it just, you're ripping off enough. Aren't you embarrassed? You should be embarrassed that you're going to try the Khan yell and you're going to have Spock do it. Don't. God, it's so bad. But it's funny.
There's no gravitas there. It didn't mean anything. Those characters barely knew each other, Spock and Kirk back,
They hated each other.
2 missions together and they didn't like each other. So, Star Trek, that was so earned after, all those journeys and voyages together and all the years together and the time. And I was just so I couldn't believe it either. I was in the movie theater opening night, and one of my friends like, "Oh, wasn't that cool?" And they had Spock jumping around like a superhero. He's kind of like Superman in that last segment, when he's jumping between the shuttlecraft and with.
That would be the last time I'd be friends with that person.
Yeah.
I'll be like, "You're too stupid to live. I gotta go."
Lieutenant Crittenden, hello there. What's up, sir?
I'm being mean, but like, no.
No, well, but a lot of Star Trek adjacent people, if you don't watch Star Trek that much, and they're trying to make it Star Wars, and Pine actually had a good point. We've read that quote a few times. Hey, Claude. And where he said, let's try to make Star Trek this huge blockbuster, Star Wars something it's not. It was almost saying like, let's bring it back to its roots, and which kind of makes sense too. It works best on TV, obviously, but you could do.
Why would Khan put the people in the torpedoes?
Oh, freaking no, it's so stupid.
Why do you put lime in a coconut? I don't know. Yeah.
See, that's the problem with all of anything after 09, all the filth that's called Star Trek that isn't Star Trek, a name only Steino, the fifth, including up to today. Even in real episodes of Trek.
Oh, I agree with you.
From 66 through 05, you could find things to criticize. Raquel and I find things to criticize all the time. But it's usually an isolated episode here and there. They got a lot of problems. They have critical issues, artistic issues. Now, every time you do watch anything to do with the Jar Jar Abrams filth, the Klutchman drivel, this garbage third season of PR that people are weirdly, for some reason, liking, whatever. When I'm watching an episode, even of that people are all, so in love with, I'm going, well, if the 50 some odd minutes of this show, if about 90% of it, I'm sitting there going, but why? That's dumb. This is stupid. Yeah. This is laughable. Then it's not a good show. An occasional episode of a show being flawed is one thing. Even really good episodes of things are flawed. But when every bit of it is just, ugh.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I also, just for the record, I don't consider Star Trek 09 canon or anything like that, or any kind of Star Trek or anything like that. It's a version of Star Trek.
It's called Star Trek.
Yeah, it's
name only.
It's kind of like one of those things, whatever you want to call it. But like, no, I agree with you 100%, man. It's just,
Well, thank God it was an alternate timeline. They never tried to say it was.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
like that's why I never had the problem with it that Clobby did. That was our original point that we were talking about. But he was talking about why he felt that way, even still with the vindication of Khan, because he's right. There was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, just get over it." And I'm one of those people that can look, I'm an easy sell. When I'm in the moment, like I'm the kind of person that shouldn't be asked what they thought of a film on Metacritic. You don't usually want to get my first opinion because once I think about a movie, it will change. Because then I start thinking about stuff. But like you're right, Clobby, if I'm in the moment and I'm yelling at the screen, like with the Batman, for instance, that was one of the more recent ones I remember doing that too. Mm-hmm. It's like you are losing. Because I am an easy sell, right? I'm an easy lay. Like, it doesn't take much to wine, dine, and 69 me in a movie. Like, as long as you give me some shit that I'm happy about and I'm smiling, I'm forgetting about all this Fugazi over here, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm into it. I don't care. I'll overlook some stupid crap sometimes. But if you really make me just gotta go, hit the brakes in the middle of the movie and I gotta go, time out, hold up. What the hell? Then I start to, it just starts unraveling, right? Like, I'm just like, no, I'm not in this no more. I just can't do it. And I mean, even me, like I tried, like another movie is like Cocaine Bear, for instance, right? In the moment, at the time watching it, I had fun. More I think about it, it's dumb as hell. I knew that, but I mean, like, there's things in it that are stupid. Right,
like probably more fun in the movie theater, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Like in retrospect, I'm like, it could use another rewrite. I would have done this instead. Half the time, it didn't know what it wanted to be, whether it wanted to be a comedy or a horror comedy. It's like make up your mind. But again, at the moment in the theater, or I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it in my house on streaming on video on demand. But I have a TV and a sound system that might as well be a theater. So I had fun. I was laughing along with the movie. I was cheering along with the movie. I was in the movie, right? I even like Morbius for reasons that I shouldn't.
I remember you mentioning that. Admiral Teague, thank you for the members chat. He says, Cowardly Bald Space Robot equals worst Trek ever 3 times. Agreed, buddy. I hate it too. Darth Scipio, hello there. Let's see. Let me get this super chat from the great JT Kirk. Hey, buddy. Thank you so much.
It's the James T. Cook.
And by the way, JT, how the Lions do in the draft, man? You can tell me. I know how you feel. He says, Clobby, did you like the NX class ship in ST Beyond? No, I hated it being there because it's everything to do with. I hate everything to do with that movie. The edge of the diaper, beyond the edge of the diaper. To me, that was the only redeeming part of the squirming plate of gah. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't really pay much attention one way or the other. I knew it was in there, so it didn't do anything for me. But I hear you.
Talk about the model on the desk.
No, he said no. Remember, it had an NX. It had an NX-01 in there. Well, because that guy was from Archer's time. I mean, NX class, not NX-01.
Yeah, I thought
it had an NX class ship.
So I only watched the movie once, but I thought they had it just like one of the models on the desk. You know, they have those gold models. I thought one of them on was a green. Not Greenwood.
Elba's character was a former human seeking. He was the typical Jar Jar Abrams revenge-seeking baddie in the movie. So yeah, he apparently had an NX.
Revenge for what? I don't know.
Everything.
It's a mystery.
Revenge. So, Mr. Jar Jar Abrams villain, what would you like to gain from being the baddie in this movie? I want my revenge. Why? Because I don't know. What else am I looking for? Every time with that idiot. Not just him. He passed that down to Klutzman because he does it too.
Look, I was made fun of for being a nerd my whole life, so now I want to make something cool as a nerd, so that everybody would think nerds are cool.
First comment. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Welcome. I like it.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, good to see you. Oh my goodness.
James T. Kirk says the draft, not enough addressing the weakness. Same old. Meaning, handful of valuable running backs, yet I'd trade them all for a defensive line.
To block for your running back who's not going to go anywhere without a good defensive line, right? Yeah.
At least you don't have Matt Millen picking wide receivers every year anymore. Sorry, that's an old wound. Look, never kick a Lions fan. They've got. I mean, I understand you guys. In all franchises in sports history, the Lions are the most put upon. So,
have the Lions ever won a championship? Even
1958.
58 in the old league, right? Yeah. So at least the Jets won in 68.
Yeah, that's right. So there you go. But sorry, we didn't mean to sports ball everyone. It happens, but it's an accident. We won't go there.
It's an accident.
Lions, you had
a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, 15-yard penalty. You had Barry Sanders, but that was at least that was something. They gave you that as like something to enjoy a little bit. But when it comes to Star Trek, I don't know, man. It's so dead. It really is.
Sadly,
a lot of people love the new P-Hard series season 3. You got to say though. I mean, everyone's
and now they're getting
media. It's like it's back, and they're going to get a new legacy show allegedly, or I wouldn't surprise me.
Well, here's the thing. I will say this, and this maybe will kind of. I know I've been trying to spread this as much as I can because, as far as I know, this is fairly accurate. Again, take it with a grain of salt because it's come from a couple sources, but I knew for a while that Kurtzman wasn't going to go anywhere no matter what, because before Picard even dropped, the whole Michelle Yeoh Section 31 thing was a go. Like, the moment they knew they could get something with her set in stone, that is what pretty much solidified him being around for a while. Now, what I had heard
that happened after the Academy Award. Then they really went after her once she won.
Well, they already had the contract with her. What this was finally like, they were, from what I gather, is they were pushing the contract, but they had been telling her her people had been telling them for years that if they don't get something done here soon, she is going to be too busy. Because she has tons of other offers and things she has to do. So they had her on board for whatever seasons of Star Trek Discovery it was until they got rid of her character, which then was supposed to set up Section 31. In the Interium, you're right, Mark. She was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, ended up getting all the praise and the Oscar.
Right.
So they worked out this deal with her, made her an executive producer on a movie instead of a show. So it's going to be a one-off movie. And then that was kind of what basically solidified him. Now, Picard ended up throwing a monkey wrench in the whole works from what I had heard. because they were already kind of meh with Kurtzman anyway, because people think that if anybody thinks that CBS was worried about what Kurtzman had done to Trek before that, they weren't. Nobody really knows or cares, I think, at this point. Because, and I've told this to people before, and I stand by it now even more so. Kurtzman doing Star Trek for them was basically them seeing it as a favor, right? Him slumming it. Because this is the guy that was overseeing a lot of their CBS prestige shows, like Hawaii Five-0 was on for a long time.
Yeah.
Clarice was supposed to be one of these shows. Clarice is what got him on their shit list, from what I heard, because that and The Man Who Fell to Earth, yeah. Clarice was meant to be a huge show for CBS, a big prestige show. And it failed. And it failed miserably. It failed so bad that he got a scathing review in Entertainment Weekly that is good enough to frame, my man. If you've never heard it, it is beautiful.
I remember hearing about it.
Because they dig deep and hard. It's like if one of us wrote it. Because they go, it's like claws out. Because it's not only do they go after him for Clarice, they go after him for everything. In fact, they go up to the point of calling him
for Clarice and Mads Mikkelsen. I said it was fantastic. Yep. I never watched it, but I heard that.
See, that's the other thing.
It was excellent.
He stepped on Brian Fuller's feet again, whether he intended to or not, because that was the whole thing. Is Fuller in the background had been trying for a while now to get the rights worked out. For those who don't know, the rights for the Silence of the Lambs and the Hannibal characters, Clarice, all that stuff is spread out over a couple different entities. Because originally it was a book called Red Dragon, and Hannibal was in that book along with a bunch of other characters. Clarice wasn't introduced until the second book. That book is specifically owned by MGM. Okay, the first book, Red Dragon, is owned by Universal. So.
Because wasn't there a TV movie originally or something, or
yes,
Red Dragon?
And that's where Dino De Laurentiis and Universal come into play here.
Okay, yeah, so it's complicated.
So it is a complicated effing mess. So basically, Hannibal was taken up to a point where they were just getting ready to where they could introduce Clarice if they wanted to do like an extension of what they were doing. Brian had been trying desperately in the background to get the rights worked out with MGM to get Clarice on board. Because basically Clarice and Buffalo Bill are the only two characters that are introduced, I believe, in that story, in that second book. Yeah, because all those other characters are actually from the first book, I think, if I remember right. So basically, at that point, he was getting to that point where they're like, okay, because Hannibal was a big deal, like you said, but how Kurtzman did it, I don't know, but he convinced them instead to give CBS the rights to do a Clarice TV show.
Wow.
That had nothing to do with Hannibal. They couldn't mention Hannibal.
Yeah. Wow.
Jonah Hex, hey there. Welcome, Jonah Hex.
Hey, Jonah.
And they expected this to be a big deal. It's like
and from what I understand, the Hannibal series is pretty popular and doing well.
Exactly, yeah. That's my point. Yeah. So they screwed two pooches with that mess.
But why do you think they didn't care so much about what was happening with Star Trek? It was making them just enough money, or they
that's
had all
just
these
it.
They companies that invested in it, and Netflix paid for the series, so they didn't really care that much.
Emma Watts was somebody at Paramount who kind of figured it all out, like we have for years, tried to tell them, and she's gone now. So I think that's one answer. I think they figured out that it's not, and this goes along with what Clobby was saying too, and this is why I think Chris Pine was saying this, because enough people are well aware of this, that Star Trek is a niche brand. It is a lifestyle brand, but it's a niche brand. It's not a brand that reaches beyond where it is. It has a generation that passes it down to another generation. So basically you don't really gain a big number of people. It just retains. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that sense, like she was saying, and what Pine and others are saying, is you can make these movies and you can make money, but you have to do it on the level they did for TOS, for the TOS movies, for TNG, for the TNG movies, not this big blockbuster thing that J.J. Abrams is trying to do, because that's what Emma Watts was trying to point out, was that those J.J. Abrams movies, they didn't make any more than the original films did, even though they look like they did.
Gross, yeah. But the first movie was the most successful, right? I mean,
technically, but it cost the most. Actually, the second one cost the most. I'm sorry. But that was the problem, is they were costing 3-4 times as much as the old Star Trek movies cost, but we're only making the same amount in inflation.
Yeah, well, look at the motion picture. That was the directive for Khan was to save money. They reused some footage, and they made a ton of money off of that movie.
And
with,
Wrath of Khan, the motion picture, and I think 3 and 4 all made roughly close to the same amount of money at the box office.
Yeah.
So if that tells you anything. So that's their point, and they're right. You can't make these on $180 million budgets. You can't make them on $100 million budgets. You have to find a way to make them for about $60 to $80 million, or make the first one for a little bit more, and a way to amortize that cost across a few other sequels, because that's how Star Trek used to be. You know, and that's what Brian Fuller tried to tell Les Moonves is like, I need this much money up front to be able to do this, or it's not going to work. And then that's where it doesn't make sense to me with Kurtzman, unless he's the one who brought Netflix on board, because Netflix paid for the show eventually. But Moonves was scoffing because of how much money Fuller supposedly wanted. And that's where they butted heads on Discovery, I guess.
And Fuller, what I've read, I haven't read his exact treatments, but I read that it was supposed to be an anthology series going throughout the history of Starfleet and going all over the place and just having one-off episodes. Which
there was talks of that. I have seen some of the earlier stuff with him and Myers that worked on it. It is pretty close to what we got, not exactly, but like all those same characters are there, but it was clearly reworked. I mean, again, I can't speak to because it's been a while since I've read it, but there was still.
That would have been good if they'd done an anthology series, but of course, look what happened with Strange New Worms and with New Worlds. I see Clobberin times you brainwash me every time.
I'm not even sure if we still would have liked Discovery if Brian Fuller had made it. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I don't think we would have, to be honest.
Yeah, because she was still supposed to be Spock's illegitimate sister or whatever in his version and stuff like that. Yeah. The things that were added by him was like the mushrooms and all that kind of crap.
And the video game they allegedly copied. Do you saw that?
A lot of that that's why I'm kind of surprised that he didn't actually win that case, because a lot of that stuff came in later.
Yeah. Well, powerful lawyers, like $1 million lawyers, right? I guess.
The tardigrade.
The tardigrade. That was unbelievably close, but. It's just Discovery is among the worst TV I've ever watched, and so was first two seasons of Picard, and I didn't like the third season, but it wasn't the abject disaster. It was very un-Trekky and some a lot of very un-Star Trek in a lot of ways, and I didn't like the story, but just
so
different levels of horrible. I mean,
no, we got down this path. You guys were talking about Picard season 3. Now, have you guys watched it at all or no?
Yeah.
I've watched the whole thing. Yep.
I only watched the first 3 episodes, and when I saw it, I'm like, okay, it's all right. I don't see the hype some people are seeing, but to me, it felt like a better of the TNG movies. Right, taking me back to what I was telling you earlier, Clobby, about my revelation that now I see why some people don't like the movies so much, but. To me, that's what it felt like. It didn't so much feel like an extension of TNG, the show, as it did like, we're getting a sequel to Nemesis.
Yeah,
it's a 10-part movie.
It pretty much feels like I said, there was a time where general consensus from TNG fans was that they, of course, they were not particularly well disposed towards the movies. They thought they were mostly just pew-pew. I mean, especially Nemesis is it's a rotten movie.
It's kind of terrible, yeah. As good as Tom Hardy, isn't it? The rest of it is terrible. Yes.
We didn't have motorcycles, but we had 4-wheelers.
Don't forget the dune buggies.
It does manage to, at least, for example, see, here's the thing about my big theory about that. The first 2 seasons of Picard are so atrocious that they're not just atrocious. That's bad. That's one thing just to be bad, right? They're a special kind of bad because this is a big ego trip for him, and they don't even resemble anything to do with the Star Trek. For example, even really terrible crap like STD, they're still running around on a spaceship doing stuff, right? Or even, this was not even that. This was not even him running around with a crew having like even bad adventures. He was, the first couple episodes, he's on Earth doing nothing. Then he gets in a Firefly type spaceship with a bunch of reprobates doing nothing. Goes to Blade Runner planets all over the place doing nothing, and ends up fighting the big space monster, and then becomes a robot. It's not like he's running around on a starship commanding a ship or doing anything that you ever saw him do before. And then the second episode, even worse, when he's doing some of the same stuff, then he goes back in time to modern times. So it doesn't even try to feel like a Trek episode in any way at all. And so this season, they at least had
they trash the Federation throughout too.
Everything else is anti-Federation. Everything's anti-Roddenberry as well. That just piles onto it. But I'm saying, I'm leaving all that aside for a second. I'm leaving story aside. I'm saying it doesn't even make you feel like it's bad Star Trek. It just feels like it's something. You got a guy named Picard in it, and he's running around in a universe you don't even recognize.
Yep.
Well, season 3, they said, first of all, we're going to bring everybody back together. Fans will like that, and they're going to suck that up no matter what. And we'll put them on spaceships running around, except for the stupid Raffi parts, which were a few. We're just going to put them on spaceships and be running around pew-pewing and stuff, but they'll be on spaceships, and they'll be fighting nemesis that you understand, that you're familiar. They'll be doing familiar things. It just turns out they're doing them poorly. They're poorly written. These shows are not good. The show is not good, but all they had to do was dress it up as Star Trek TNG movie stuff light. It didn't matter how stupid it was. To some people, to me it does, but to most people it didn't. So they got their member berries, and it didn't matter how badly they were done. There were member berries, there were nostalgia, and it made people happy that they got to see these people come back and have one last little adventure, and they were not very discriminate about how they got it. That's my opinion. It's badly written. Many of the characters are not particularly written the way they should have been sent off. Some of them are ruined. Some of them are just sort of there. Some of them are okay as far as the way they were written. But the show has no story. They stretched out what they call a story over 10 episodes. Like it could have been done in 2 to 3 episodes max. And they
started at episode 8.
Yeah, and it was just
8, 9, and 10 could have been the whole season.
All they said is, look, if we hit the right buttons, we're going to get a lot of people. So, I mean, and by the way, I would kind of understand it if people were just going, it's kind of nice to see him back. I understand it's not really Trek, but it's kind of a nostalgia thing. But a lot of people don't admit that. They're saying stuff like it's great Star Trek. Star Trek back. It's peak Trek. And that's what aggravates me. If you just enjoyed seeing these people back together for whatever, that's one thing. But they're acting like this is actual Star Trek, and that's what gets me.
And I'm not going to stick up for anybody here, Clobby, but I think I might know why this is. Like, just from an observational point. I wonder if it's the whole cracker thing. Like, you've seen Eddie Murphy Raw, right? I know. I'm sure Mark has. You know,
I saw him live back then. Even.
You know, like the whole trap. I'm not going to get into the whole first part. But he's like, when you don't get it forever, you know, it's the greatest you ever had. It's like when you starving and someone gives you a cracker. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's the greatest cracker I ever had. Was that a Ritz? That wasn't a regular cracker. It was a Ritz.
The Ritz, yeah.
Then after a while, you're like, I just got some regular old crackers.
They were starving.
Here's the thing is I think exactly. You know where I'm already headed with this. I think that if this would have been season 1, this is where I disagree with people on their whole take with this, besides the whole peak Trek thing. Like that is a little, to me, that's almost like saying, and again, I allow people to have their feelings, and I'm not going to try and poo-poo on anybody's parade. But my point is that to me is like saying it's the best as the greatest. Like whenever they try to compare every Star Wars thing to Empire Strikes Back, it's like that's a high bar, right? Like why not compare it to the first Star Wars or Return of the Jedi? No, they always go for Empire, right? And that's the same thing with peak Trek. It's like that overhypeness, like that is too far. I think at this point, like if we'd have got this in the first season of Picard, I think people would have been okay with it, but I think you're right, Clobby. I think their initial reaction would have been what you were just said before that. Yeah, it's great to see everybody back together, but it doesn't feel like TNG. Exactly. But since we've gone through so much crap for so gall darn long, to see something like this actually get past, and this is kind of some of the things I was trying to say to Doomcock back in the day when I would try and at least get him to understand the reasoning behind some of this stuff. And why we should at least pay attention to when they are doing things differently, is that to me it was more amazing that got past Kurtzman. And the only reason that thing got past Kurtzman is because Kurtzman was off diddling around with frickin' Clarice and the Man Who Fell to Earth. And I watched that movie for the first time last week. What the fuck is that movie about? Holy
the original,
shit.
The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Yes, with David Bowie. I'm like,
that's
the first
weird movie.
It's a wackadoo movie. I'm like, I get it. I know what's going on, but why is it going on?
Hey, Keely Chow.
So that thing is right up Kurtzman's alley. I can't believe he didn't blow that out of the water. But anyway.
I hear you.
That series was a disaster. The Man That Fell to Earth that got canceled.
Yeah, it got canceled after first season too. Yep.
Good.
So both of his new prestige series beyond Star Trek got canceled. So this actually takes me back to the point I never got to before, and that was he got renewed, we heard, until 2030. That's not his CBS contract, though. That's his Star Trek contract. His CBS contract is up in 26. So that tells us that they don't trust him to work on anything but Trek now. And you got to people also need to understand that that CBS actually owns a part, I guess, of Secret Hideout and stuff like that too. It's a whole convoluted mess of shit. You guys, it's like we're not getting rid of Kurtzman anytime soon. Like that's what we need to understand, unless he does something really off the wall, off the charts. And that's pretty much why I'm sure that Terry Metalis is, doing everything he can to basically suck his dong right now too on top of it all, because he's like, this is the guy's the only chance I got of coming back. And that goes also what I was saying is right now, Picard did throw a monkey wrench into the mix. CBS and Paramount did notice that people are like, oh, whoa, all those things that you just said, Clobby, even though you don't like them, CBS noticed that. So they are paying attention to
viewership, right? I mean, the ratings.
It did. It showed up it was the first Star Trek show since Discovery to show up in the top 10, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think it is. And well, there's my problem. That's what I fear. Crap rewarded is crap repeated. So
you're not wrong, Clobby, but it's a step in the right direction. And this is what I kept trying to tell Doomcock. It's like, I understand how you're feeling, but it's also a step in the right direction, right? It's like you can't keep telling the dog it's bad, and then when it does something good, not reward it, because then you have a problem. But no, you're not wrong. It's a corporation. It's not a living being. It is one of those things you can't keep feeding and expect to change, right?
Hey, Bubba Doom. Yeah, and the thing is, if you can say better than bad does not mean good. And if I'm admitting that it's not quite as horrible as the first two seasons, I still think it's a garbage show. Third season doesn't have all the same trappings of the first two seasons, but to me, it's still horrible stuff, and it's not Star Trek. So I don't want any more. If people say, but they won't make any more, I don't want any more. I think it's
that's fair.
Why did the Borg need Jack Crusher? I mean, the idea of
you don't get into the lies of that show. Are you kidding me?
No, well, I'm just I know, but I'm just saying this idiotic stuff like that. I mean, the Borg putting a ticking time bomb in a Picard's DNA that they knew he'd use the transport over time. That was kind of cool. But then they need Jack Crusher as a signal to signal out to everyone to turn into Borg. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You're going to put that in the show? You need a human person to signal to turn everyone into Borg? You couldn't do something, biologically or create something? I mean, it was laughable.
I didn't finish watching it, so I don't know what happened.
Spoiler alert.
No. I'm just gonna say though, I did get a little chuckle though, Mark. The other day I was noticing the woke faction of Star Trek fans are pissed about Picard. And not for the reasons that you would think.
I don't know why.
Not because like people like, in our circles are enjoying it, because they figured out what some people in our circles did figure out. And that is that the young are affected by a virus that the boomers are not.
I'm going to give them the points on that.
Yes.
That was funny.
Thanks for that. Yes.
They are picking up on that now, and they don't like it.
I got to admit,
especially the young snowflakes can't take that too. Like we could take it our generation, but not the young snowflakes.
What was so stupid about it is it was a funny joke and it was a nice little backhanded smack. But the problem is, you're going, wait a minute. Does that mean let's say, okay, you can assimilate everybody under 25 on a starship full of 300, 400, 500 people, whatever, which each crew complement is different. Are you telling me that the majority of the crew is that young? I think it would be kind of split up. I don't think it would be that clear. So they might even be outnumbered. And yet they were able to just take over on all these ships. I'm like, that would just create chaos, wouldn't it?
And probably. Plus, you're on starships. You remember the big thing in TNG when they said you couldn't fire a phaser without permission. You couldn't.
That was going.
In the movie, that was all. You couldn't. Even TNG violated that a couple of times too. Plus, the Borg that were created, they were just under control. They didn't have quote unquote superpowers or shielding or the suit that they had before that gave them basically superhuman powers. So they were just people. So like you're saying, Clobberin Tom's 100% right. How many under 25s? I mean, I'm sure, in the military, there are a ton of people serving under 25, but you wouldn't have, you wouldn't. But in Starfleet, though, I can't imagine you'd have,
No, but it is a perfect, it is like a perfect analogy, right? Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I got to imagine the Borg was born out of that, we were riding that 80s wave of, fuck communism, right?
Yep.
And that's very much what, because, I was there when Rocky single-handedly ended the Cold War.
That was great at the movie theater.
He said, if you can change and I can change, maybe we all can change. And Gorbachev and Ronnie made up, so it was like, we all were like,
it
okay,
shocked
we're good.
me so much that night in the movie theater too. And, our family were very on the right, shall we say, we're not going to talk about politics, but my dad was from Europe and very anti-communist, and had seen a lot of things in Europe. A much older guy, and but it was a good message, though, right? Because it's really not it's not the people that are bad; it's the governments that are bad.
Yeah,
and a few bad people that are in charge. It's not, everyone. You hate all.
And
the
that
Russians.
was the beauty of the Borg, right? It came out of that stemming, I believe, of that. We're coming out of that era, and the Borg are what? Basically, a communist system.
The commune, the ultimate commune,
You're out of Maximanda Bear. What's up, buddy?
But I mean, I can see where they could quickly become a very boring bad guy too, right? I mean, even in First Contact, they started even I got to admit, look, I mean, I was kind of asking those kind of questions back then when I know very little about the Borg, because I don't even know if I'd seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes, Borg episodes, before seeing First Contact, and I'm just sitting here going, why is she not why does she care? Why does she want him? What is so special about him compared to anybody else? Now Data made a little more sense, but at the same time, why does she care? Why is she acting like she has this goal if they're supposed to be this brainless? Because I remembered that from the series, right? And they even carried that for a little bit into the movie. It's like, oh, if you're no threat, they ain't gonna bother you, right? So okay, why are they all of a sudden more of a threat than they were before? I don't get it. And she's got a goal here, and she wants Picard. Why? To reassimilate him? Cute. I guess she likes bald men, evidently.
The Borg are boring too, because they're basically, don't anyone get any beekeepers mad at me. We need bees, but they're basically drone bees. I mean, so they're mindless beings controlled by the collective, and they're scary in terms of, like the Blob. Think of the Blob movie, massive force that you can't stop, but intellectually they're not very interesting. There's no vengeance or revenge. They just are. They're a force of nature.
Well, and that might have been a mistake of the show to begin with, to try and make it so simplified in this view of whatever, because that's the thing is, I guess, other than what's that, is that their ultimate goal is just to assimilate everything? I mean,
everyone,
to what end? To what end, right? You got to.
Everyone's Borg.
So everybody's bored.
Yeah, and then what?
Everyone's really good at playing tennis with wooden rackets.
Exactly.
If you ask them that, they won't know. Hey, Bubba Doom one, thank you for that. Says let's see here.
See, now Kirk would have asked the Borg that question, and it would have made the Borg's head explode.
It would have. Kirk would have handled the Borg in 2 seconds.
Why do you want to assimilate everybody?
I'm just happy they treated Worf
then
better
you wouldn't
than
have anybody to assimilate.
That he got in the movies. I thought Worf was terrible in the show, in the 3rd season myself, buddy. It wasn't perfect, but they did good with what they had, and it didn't make me mad. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I didn't. I thought Worf was kind of goofy in it, to be honest, for me personally. But you're not alone. Most people were fine with it. And let me tell you something. One thing I do understand is people who really love these characters, and I'm not amongst them. I like TNG fine. I'm an original series guy, but I do like the show enough, and so it's cool. But if those characters in your heart, and they are in the hearts of a lot of people because they grew up watching it, everyone has different personal experiences. I can see why it would be tougher why you would at least, it might grab at your heartstrings. But for me personally, it just bugs me that there's so many of them were kind of written pretty poorly. I mean, Riker was kind of written like Riker was. He was fine. I think some of the other ones were really poorly written, though.
Geordi was horrible at his appearance, his first episode on the series. Remember that?
Jordy was really terrible, but it was stupid writing too. For 20 minutes, he was opposing. He was like, but he
didn't want to help Picard.
He wouldn't help Picard for 20 minutes because he was endangering his daughters. I'm like, wait a minute. I think your daughters are endangered by the Borg, right? So helping Picard helps your daughters, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Huh?
And
Jordy?
Right? And Worf's introduction too, when he comes in, of course, it's a great action scene. We love, who doesn't love a great Worf action scene? Until he beheads an unarmed Ferengi who they could have interrogated for information on the whole plot. And then Rafi, our favorite character, even said so much. The guy's not holding a weapon. He's just a lonesome Ferengi who, Klingons should have no problem with. If you remember watching Deep Space Nine, the Klingon gets dishonored for attempting to fight Quark. So it's just that kind of stuff. When you take the person, a character like you, I love Michael Dorn. He's probably my favorite character on TNG next to Data, probably a toss up there. But so you'd love seeing them. That's the nostalgia factor. But if it'd be like seeing Spock come on and use the Vulcan death grip on a bunch of people. Now that's a trick question, a trick statement. Everyone,
there's no such thing as a no Vulcan death grip.
There should be, though.
If you had Spock coming on, killing
and
people,
Spock should accidentally use it once.
I thought they. What are you saying?
Meant to use the pinch.
You think Spock should say?
Agonizer, please.
Yes. That was a mistake I will never make again. Hopefully.
Yep. And as for TNG, all I got.
The Defiant. Adrift, but salvageable. Tough little ship. Little.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
I didn't notice until you played that clip that they actually have like the Wrath of Khan music playing in the background there.
Actually, it was a motion picture.
Or motion picture. That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
I knew it was one of them. Yeah.
And they used it again. It
nice
was
nostalgia
weird.
touch there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nostalgia touch. That was from First Contact. I watched that recently. That's probably, if I'd say that.
Oh, that's because Goldsmith did that too, so he just probably reused all that shit.
Yes, exactly. He reused this.
People are starting to figure that out. That Jerry Goldsmith and a couple of those guys just reused a lot of shit. They did.
Not as much as James Horner though. Jesus Christ,
Horner was worse. Yes,
was the biggest. He's done some brilliant work, but then he's done some other stuff. I'll never forget when I first went to see Aliens in 1986. Great movie, I love it. Horner did the soundtrack to that, of course, and he also, as you all know, previously before that, had done the soundtracks to Star Trek 2 and 3, amongst other things, right?
Yep.
So there's a scene, and these are totally unrelated movies. The scene where I think it's right when they're driving the big automobile running from the aliens
tank
at
car
some point,
truck thingy,
the tank car thingy, and I'm hearing Klingon music from Star Trek 2. I'm like,
now I'll have to listen for it now.
Crap. I couldn't believe. I'm sitting in the theater. I still love the movie, but it kind of took me out for a second. I'm like,
I've had that happen so many times with movies, like especially more recent years.
Music really well too.
Well, yeah, especially when you start hearing it more often.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, Jerry Goldsmith, I didn't even know it until recently. Like, I just got The Burbs, the complete soundtrack. They just re-released it. How much of Jerry Goldsmith? He used half that soundtrack in Gremlins 2.
Oh wow!
Yes, yeah. He just reused it. It's not even like he rescored it or anything. It's the same track.
Did he get paid full, or did he only get paid?
Oh
half?
yeah, I'm sure. Who knows with him?
I'm joking.
He rehashed his 48 hours the soundtrack score for, what was it, Commando, or was it?
Horner did.
Yeah, I think it was Commando.
Oh, I don't have Commando, so I can't compare. But yeah, I have 48 hours, and I have another.
I think that's true. I think that's true. Yeah,
I wouldn't be
Totally
surprised.
did. It's like, and then he, I think, I'm pretty sure he did. I have to double check before I accuse him of that.
Then you got Silvestri, who's the problem is he'll do original scores for each movie, but his shit just all sounds the same.
It does. Sometimes it's really
especially
great. Like Roger Rabbit's great though.
Yeah, like his stingers in Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, and Predator. all basically sound
they
the
all
same.
sound the same, though. Yeah.
But the rest of the music sounds different, but like there's just certain points where he just does things and it's just like, that is the same thing. And Danny Elfman's also.
I was just going to say Danny Elfman.
He does the same kind of shit. And it's because they use the same instruments in the same way. And it's like, okay, so you do a sting like an if it's a boom or whatever, you know, and they always have that certain kind of tone to them or whatever, you know.
Bush down. Let's see. Bush Pan Down, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. It's good to see you, and we're glad to have you here. He says, I like how Picard got revenge on Shaw for how he treated him upon meeting him. You're right, Clobby. I don't want any more modern shows of my favorite franchises. Yeah, I can't. I don't even watch a lot of new stuff anymore, man. But then I'm old. I just sit on the porch and say, "Get off my lawn, you damn Terry Metalis," who, by the way, blocked me, and that'll forever be my badge of honor. Look at that, Tom. Should I not be proud?
Oh, wow. I didn't get blocked on the main page, but he blocked me from messaging him.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know why I'm blocked. I've never had any interaction with him whatsoever at all. I never followed him. Never. And people are telling me I'm told it's not a blockchain. Some say it is. Some say it's not. Because I've been on some threads talking about him.
I'm not so sure. Because that's the weird thing is because, okay, full disclosure, I messaged him. I just said, hey, and he didn't answer me. Just next thing I know, it says you are blocked from messaging this person. So I'm like, what, did he block me? And then I went to his page and, no, I wasn't blocked from his page. So I'm like, weird.
Oh, you can actually block someone from messaging you? I didn't know that.
And I get that from time to time. Not so much the messaging part, but like, you know, just like people will block me from being able to like comment on their shit, or I get like, there must be some like form of like, not so much a full-on block, but people can do it to you, because a lot of people won't block me just because of who I am. Like, I know that's why Grace Randolph hasn't yet. I guarantee you, because there's enough. I have given that woman such a. I wouldn't blame her if she fucking did. Like, I mean, I was surprised. Like, we had a celebration that day. You were there, weren't you, Clobby, when Scott Mendelson finally did? Yeah. It was the most benign fucking thing in the world. He fucking blocked me for. I'm like, dude must be having a real bad day. So we're gonna celebrate Scott Mendelson, because it's like, I have given that guy some shit, and it's like, I don't blame him for blocking me, but it took you this long, and it was one of the most benign things ever. Like, okay, finally something snapped in him. Like, we kind of figured out it was maybe because he might have been let go from one of his gigs, but like, he's like a freelancer, but like,
he's a tool.
Like, he quit writing for was it? I can't remember if it was Variety or one of the other ones, but yeah, not Variety. Yeah, was it Variety? Because the rap. I can't remember which one now, but yeah.
DJ Ronnie G. What's up, buddy? Thank you for the super chat. You're too kind, my friend. He says, why does Terry have a photo of a dentist chair in front of a DeLorean anyway? I don't know. Let's see. Does he? It looks like the dentist chair, or maybe it's a battle droid from Star Wars pretending to be a dentist chair. I don't know.
Actually, it looks like a chair from a cockpit of some.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. It actually looks like some sci-fi show or something, probably. Yeah. Look, he's trying to show you that he's a geek. That's what that is.
Yeah, well, he's a jerkweed too.
Look, guys, I'm like you. I like DeLoreans, and if you're cool, you can figure out what movie this is from, or TV show.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. He's a wienerhead, and he's been abusive to some fans.
Even R&B and him got into it a little bit.
You know what that is, guys?
You told me that.
That's the time travel chair from 12 Monkeys, which you.
That's what I was wondering. I figured it was something like that.
And I did like that show. That was a good show. It was Captain Infinity's maybe second favorite show. Teasing Captain Infinity if you're out there, but
which he did work on. So.
Yeah, that was a good show. I like that show.
Yeah. He's just such a darling of all these. I'm gonna stop myself.
Well, and that's no, but you're Claudia. You know what? This I can understand though, because look, I have the same issue with certain other people. Like, some people just, you can't say one bad thing about George Lucas. And it's like,
I know who you're talking about.
I'm so sorry, people, but like, look, George Lucas is not some end-all, be-all, great god of everything.
No, he's not.
In fact, he has some of the most revisionist history of most people I've ever seen in Hollywood. And you can trace back the original stories, so it's like, dude knows he's full of shit. Like, it's like he's living in his own special edition world. It's like, as long as I just say it is, that's what make CGI it.
He sold Trek. Excuse me, he sold Star Wars, so he's the reason Star Wars is garbage. He sold it.
I love him, but there's things about him that I know he's full of shit on, and you're right, that was a big mistake, and I don't blame him, because at the time that seemed like a good idea. But
they should have put into the contract they had to buy his stories or pay for his stories. So
and that's how he got that extra money, because it's even in Bob Iger's book where he flat out said, like, Bob said that Lucas wanted them to basically buy Star Wars from him, own the IP, and him basically still run Lucasfilm as president and oversee the stories. And they said, no, we want control. And at that time, I can see why they would say that, and why he would understand they would say that. Because this is coming off of the prequels, remember. That was the last thing we had gotten from Star Wars.
We considered a failure at that time.
Not so much a failure,
money
but
was, but
yeah, the fans were divided on it. It created the fandom menace, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even a movie that our own Chris Gore is in called The People versus
George Lucas.
Yep.
George Lucas.
Yeah.
That was a funny movie.
You know, and I can't
George
deny
Lucas banned Chris Gore.
I don't know. But I mean, if anything, I mean, you can blame Red Letter Media just as much as anybody else for that matter, because look, they're not wrong in their reviews, but it was because of that shit that Lucas is like, all right, I've had enough. And he had been wanting to sell it to Disney for a long, long time. The sad part is he basically got duped by somebody who's darker and twisted than Palpatine ever could imagine to probably even be.
Yeah, he did.
And what about the Kathleen Kennedy stuff? I mean, he got blindsided by where she would take Star Wars too, or, I mean, that's the other thing that's shocking to me. You know,
on paper, Kathleen Kennedy made sense, right? She had a history with George. She is the most successful producer of all time, not just female producer, but successful producer of all time. You would think that she would not only pay respect to what came before, honor what George would want, but also still facilitate and make movies that people would want to see. I mean, this is a lady who produced, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T. I mean, come on. I mean, how can you not pick up something from that, right? Like, how can you not you should already know the blueprint to this shit.
Yeah.
Jurassic frickin' Park.
Yeah.
She, in fact, is rumored to be one of the reasons why Joe Johnston said he would never work with Kathleen Kennedy again, because she made it a fucking nightmare to work on Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true,
when I saw that Forces female shirt, I was into this stuff later in terms of finding out what was, going behind the scenes.
The cracks started to show. Yeah.
But I mean, like that. Now that looking back, I'm like, who would wear a shirt like that says the Force is female? I'm like, first of all, Star Wars is the most popular property among young boys. It doesn't mean women or young girls can't like it either, but it's super popular. Why are you going to wreck that and try to skew it towards females? I mean, know your audience. I mean, it's insane. I mean, don't change what's fundamentally popular about your franchise. Doesn't mean, my sister, God, she loved Princess Leia growing up and always, Leia and Luke, and, it doesn't mean you can't have any strong female character. And Leia is one of the original, badass characters that was a female. I mean, when she's like, who's running this rescue here? She grabs the blaster and takes charge. But she's such an organically well-written character, Leia Organa, that it's natural. Rey, I like that first scene with Rey, and then at the end, she gets the lightsaber dome. Like, let's see, is she going to lose an arm and a leg? Maybe. How many body parts is she going to lose? And then she beats Kylo Ren. I was like, what? So,
well, and look, I can say some things, and I can't say where or why I know these things. I'll say them to you guys after the show or in private here, because I can stay a little bit longer, but I got previous engagement I got to get to here pretty soon. But
sure, I got you.
Yeah, but look, Disney has mandates that we should have known from the start. Like, look, I even gave. I hate even stroking JJ's ego a little bit. I even was like, oh, finally, you're given the job he should have been doing in the first place, is what I said. Now, if he had a decent script to work with, he probably could have delivered a decent looking Star Wars film. Right? But he had shit to work with. And even him, I'd give him credit because we know now from behind the scenes struggle, it was Kathleen Kennedy who kept forcing Luke out of the equation. At least J.J. Abrams in his version, his whole idea was, okay, well, if I can't have Luke in it, I'm going to build him up to be this mystic thing, you know, kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi was seen when they first talk about him, right? You know, so like, as far as through The Force Awakens, the biggest mistake to me personally that you can't build off of is that they fucked up with the whole killing of Han Solo, the way that whole thing rolled. Yeah, the whole thing rolled with that. And they don't turn that into anything later on. And then, of course, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to get into the whole rest of that bit. But, you know, J.J. Abrams, as long as he had a decent script, could have probably delivered a watchable Star Wars movie. But, I mean, at that point, it's like Kathleen Kennedy was so dead set against killing the male leads in those movies. And it's pretty clear now, right?
Right? Yeah.
Because she didn't even kill Leia, even though Colin Trevorrow begged her to do so just so he could make his story work. She still said no. And it's like, it makes the third movie even unwatchable, really. I mean, it's a joke. Mess. It's an MST3K movie waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once.
Oh, I
saw
laughed
that
at
one
it.
time in the theater, and I walked out. I never will watch that.
At that
again.
point, apathy had set in. I just looked at it as, this is like the roast at this point. If The Last Jedi was the funeral, this is the fucking roast. This is where we're done here, kids. This is fucking. I laughed so hard at the fucking force jumping shit. Like, I was just laughing at the movie. And then when they're like, and I said it at the movie, and this is why I've never said it since. Like, right after that scene with the whole, like, that's like a 1 in a million thing that it even worked. Like, the whole thing that Haldo did, the Haldo maneuver, and all that shit. I'm like, this is the world's most expensive Twitter war between directors. At this point. That's all this is. Because JJ came in and said, all the shit you did, I'm tossing that out. Just like, and he did that, like, metaphorically with the fucking lightsaber, right? Like, to me, that was like, okay, this thing that you just handed me, I'm going to toss it over my shoulder and do whatever the fuck I want. That's Rian Johnson telling J.J. Abrams that. And then from there on out, he basically ends the trilogy before it has a chance to get anywhere.
Yeah. We've got 3 people left in the rebellion.
Yeah, and then J.J. Abrams is like, well, fuck, what am I left here with? Nothing. So, what am I going to do? I'm just going to shit all over the movie for the first hour of this movie, and then I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want for the last hour, and it's going to be so batshit crazy that...
Fugman 4, I've never seen you here before. Welcome.
Oh. Yeah, we're going to bring Palpatine back. That's going to be great. Everyone's going to love that.
Yeah.
So the first 3 trilogies movies didn't mean anything.
Well, no.
Well, anyway, at least Jedi is playing in theaters this week, guys. So go see that.
Yeah,
you want to see a good Star Wars movie?
I would go, but no yub nub, no ticket stub for me, my friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm the only one that does it. I'm the only one that does. I hate the special editions, but I like that change, but only because I hate Ewoks.
I understand, but to me, it's not even so much the Ewoks. It just, to me, it takes away the intimacy of the moment for those guys.
I hate the special editions.
The spreading out of everything. Man. Like, I get where you're coming from with the music side of it, maybe with the Ewoks, but like cutting away from them, seeing Coruscant and all this other shit. It's like, who fucking cares? I want to see Luke, Leia, and Han. I don't give a shit about all this other stuff. Like, it just kind of took away from their moment. To me, it's like, you leave it alone. Return of the Jedi.
The worst part is you can't watch anymore too unless you go on the interwebs or find special editions in HD or 4K. At least like Star Trek, they gave you both, and you can. Yeah, I mean, but you got to search for it. I mean, just not
it's pretty readily available.
But like Grandma couldn't go out and buy it for my son.
No,
for his
which
birthday.
Sucks. But there is 4K versions of the first film and the third film out there now. They are scanned from prints that were saved by fans. They look glorious. They look like the movie was supposed to look. Not just in like the special effects. I'm talking about just the color timing. Because when George went back and redid them, he bled them. Like, they looked so sterile.
Oh, it looked horrible. Yeah.
Especially Return of the Jedi just feels so sterile. But no, I watched them and I almost cried. I was like, oh my God, this is
they look beautiful. The restorations, yeah.
Like, I haven't seen these movies ever look this good, first of all, in this form. So it was just like seeing it for the first time in theaters. Because I have a very vague memory of seeing Return of the Jedi, and it was probably on the re-release, which was what, 85, Clobby?
Oh, I think it did come back at some point.
They
but
did
I didn't
bring it back.
Because they brought it at 86, it came out on a video. Mm-hmm. And then I want to say 85 was when they released it in theaters, because I must have fallen asleep at the very end of the film and woke up a few minutes later, because in my fuzzy memory, before it came out on video, Luke takes the sword, his lightsaber, and actually knocks Darth Vader's helmet off. In my version of it, I saw in my head for like a year and a half before I finally saw it on video. And I'm like, this is the version I had in my head for the longest time. It was my first kind of like, what do you call it? That
early movie memory.
No. But where you thought something was one thing and it's another.
The
Mandela effect.
Well, Dolly did have braces.
Okay.
Yeah. That whole thing was I was convinced that that's how the movie ended. Like, I don't remember all this other crap with him. Take my mask off. I don't remember any of that shit. All of a sudden, I'm watching on video for the first time in '86 because I begged my dad, because my dad did not like it. He hated Return of the Jedi.
Me too.
He was like, he wasn't a big, huge fan of the second film. He loved Star Wars. He's like, the second one's all right. But I don't think he was on board with this whole idea of Darth Vader being his father. And he was just not, he did not like the Return of the Jedi. So I had to beg him. Like, I remember just begging him. I'm like, it's on, because I see the trailer, it's now on video. You know, it's like, come on, Dad, I want to see it. Please. Because I hadn't seen it since we saw it in the movies. Cute. Come on, please. So finally, I watch it, and all of a sudden, my brain just starts melting, because I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I don't remember all this. What is going on here? And my dad, I swear, was fucking with me. Because he's like, yeah, I don't remember any of this either.
George Lucas.
So he actually made me believe for years that there was this other version of the movie that
only you had seen.
Well, no, that they had changed it later. They added more to it. I was like convinced.
It turns out they did it later. They did that later. Changed it later.
Well, he did actually. That's the kind of weird thing about it, is he eventually did. But
10 years later,
like at that time, because my dad is like that. I know that in hindsight. No, my dad was like, he loves to fuck with me, and anybody for that matter. But like, yeah, he's one of those kind of guys.
Well,
I just saw a UFO. He's like, yeah, me too.
I'd like to apologize to the people we cut online when we went to see Return of the Jedi. I went to confession. Yeah, it was actually with Mr.
How many Hail Marys did you have to do?
Yeah, 100. But it was actually I was with my friend Brian, his dad, and I like some things you have memories you just see as clear as day if you close your eyes. We pulled into the parking lot behind the movie, and of course, this is back before you had reserved seats and all that great stuff you have today. And you try to get into the movie. And there was like a lull in the line or a gap somehow. And Mr. Sandberg's like, just get in here right now. And we kind of like snuck into the line somehow and got right into the theater. It was it was bad, but it was good because we got to see it that night. And as a younger kid, Clobberin Times is 4 or 5 years older than me. So there's a big difference I can see where like 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old versus, an 18-year-old seeing Return of the Jedi in terms of the Ewoks and you're not as critical about a movie too.
The Ewoks were my jam back then. I mean, I was
so young kids love the Ewoks, with the whole stuff with Leia.
But I did kind of figure out where maybe my Mandela effect came in. Like I might have merged some memories in my young brain, because my parents used to go to the movies a lot. And like there was a lot of movies that would like mix together in my brain, and then like years later I would see them and like, oh, that was the movie we went and saw. Ice Pirates was one of those movies that like for years I couldn't figure out what it was, and there was one scene that stuck out in my head, and I saw it one night and I figured it out. But like I was thinking, like one time I saw one of the earlier trailers for Return of the Jedi on, I think they had it when they brought it on DVD or whatever, and I had this total like brain melting moment again where I was like, oh shit, because they had this early trailer for Return of the Jedi where Vader's head like explodes and like the whole thing explodes, and I'm like, maybe that's where I was mixing that in my brain or something, because I kept saying like he cuts like the mask off and he takes the helmet off, blah blah, and then like no, he took it off. I'm like, you're thinking of Empire Strikes Back when he's no, I'm like, no, that was Luke's face. You know, I was like, that was Luke's face, but it was like that, but it was this, because that was why I was convinced, because it's like, you know, parallel, right? Because I was like, he chops the mask off. So in my brain, there was this version of Return of the Jedi where he saw his dad's face through the mask, and then he took the rest of the mask off after the helmet, you know, the helmet flew off and everything, and all that was left there was just the one part. But I think maybe I mixed that trailer with that in my brain somehow, because I probably saw that trailer before some other movie. And, you know, just being a young kid, it just mixed those memories in some way for some reason. I know it's weird, but, like, it's just weird that I was like, I saw that trailer and I'm like, I've seen this before, but how could I have ever seen this before? I wouldn't even have been, you know, 2 years, 3 years old when it was in the theaters, but maybe. I mean, I don't remember seeing E.T., but I remember the emotional reaction.
Okay.
Like, I remember being completely inconsolable until my mom goes, look, see, he's alive. And then from that moment on, I'm fine, right? Like everybody, but that's the only thing I remembered about it until I finally saw it years and years later, because it was just so, like, that moment for me stuck with me just because I was crying my eyes out, of course.
Your dad would be like, Sonny, there's another version where E.T. actually dies. Yeah.
My dad would sit there, he's like, no, he's dead. He's dead.
He's dead. Stop the. Turn the movie.
Quit being
up.
a baby.
You want to get to see the rest of the movie.
Well, that's the thing, is the first time it was in theater, because, you know, that movie didn't come to video until what, 89, 88, something like that.
Oh, that long, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time, because Lucas, I almost said it again. Spielberg refused to release E.T. until enough homes had VCRs. I think it was 2 million homes or something like that. And then he would.
I wanted to have the biggest VHS sales ever. Yeah.
Yep. Because he wasn't a fan of VHS to begin with, and then when he finally came around to it, he only...
Well, VHS did suck, let's be honest. But
well, he was not a fan because he was in the group of people who thought it was going to be an end to people going to movies.
Oh, that group too, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, and he didn't like it because he already wasn't a fan of when his movies were shown on TV because they were cropped off. He tried to release Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in letterbox, and people did not like it.
I was a weirdo who always wanted the letterbox movies, and all my friends would yell at me like, "It's too small. We don't like the bar." I'm like, yeah, "But we're missing most of the movie."
Sony tried it too.
Vertical video kills me when I see people filming. I'm a amateur photographer, and I see people. And my wife's like, "Don't you tell them not to shoot vertical video at the track meet." I'm like, "But it's killing me. Don't shoot vertical video."
I do. It bothers me too, man.
Dave Rayborn, what's up, cuz?
Do you know how tough it is for me to do those shorts, Mark? I always have to remind myself not to do it the other. Yes. Because I'm one of like you. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Put it bright.
Yeah, my daughter went to Italy, and she does TikTok and all the socials, Instagrammy, and she shoots all this vertical video. I'm like, Nicole, I told you to do some horizontal. And her boyfriend was like, yeah, Nicole, I told you, Dad, because you're watching all the video at home on the screen, and if I see a news report someday on TV where there's horizontal video, I'm gonna go play the lottery that night. I've yet to see one horizontal video of they're panning, scanning to try to see what's happening. It's like, if you just turn your phone sideways, we could see the whole scene.
I know.
Sorry for the rant, but that's one of
No, you're 100%, dude. I'm that way. I'm also that guy who, if I go into somebody's house and they leave the room, I'm the guy who turned off motion smoothness on your TV.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, fucking hate that shit. Oh my god, I do that at Walmart's too if I'm bored. I don't have the time anymore, but I used to. Like shopping with the girlfriend and she's doing whatever. She's like, "Fuck," I'm just gonna fix all these.
Yeah, and they have the game brightness on or whatever in the store. Yeah, when you get the TV home, it's like the uber bright.
Why are you doing that? It's like you're not even showing people how good it could look. Really.
Well, yeah, I had a friend who called me. He's like, Mark, because they know I'm like the tech guy. He's like, my TV is all blurry. It's like doing this weird thing. I'm like, soap opera mode. Here we go. Tell you, what's your TV model?
They're supposed to stop doing that now. Like a bunch of directors got pissed.
Oh, good.
Because that was like turned on. Like, because when you would bring your TV home,
it was always on.
Automatically on. Yeah. So they got pissed about that, and now they have what's called filmmaker mode. For a while, it was called their cinema mode on some older TVs, but now filmmaker mode is the new like standard they're going by. So now all TVs are supposed to be set that way when they first come out of the box. They're supposed to be, but yeah, because the directors raised a big stink about that. They're like, I shoot a movie in 24 frames for a freaking reason. It's not supposed to look like a goddamn soap opera.
Yeah, I hate that. Horrible. But it looks,
It's one thing if you're watching sports or you're playing video games, whatever, But to me, it's like, why would you want all that? Because, and then again, most people just don't understand. And I don't mean to be like condescending to anybody when I try to explain it to them, but I do come off that way sometimes, So, like, and you know what I mean, Mark. You're just trying to be like nice and tell them, but it's like you do realize all this extra crap you have on your TV is making your picture worse. Like it's just a bunch of stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff.
I was getting trouble too because I remember, whenever the TV, something wrong with the TV, it's like, then my contractor get blamed. Like, Mark, what'd you do? And like one time, I think it was like an 8-year-old kid, my grandmother, just got a color TV. And somehow I was playing with all the, I love to fidget with stuff. I did something where like I permanently screwed up the colors. Oh, and the other thing is don't ever put a magnet anywhere near.
Oh yeah, we've learned.
Don't do that either. So like grandpa, they had to go buy a new TV or do. So I don't know what I did. I was like an 8-year-old kid, but just open the thing and you're playing with it. So I get blamed for that. But the problem is, the tech, like the whole argument of HD versus we love the 4K version of director's cut of the motion picture that just came out this year is phenomenal. But like they do surveys and they show people like, I'm not picking my wife, God bless her, she puts up with me, but I finally got I got my new 4K TV. I got a TV every 10 years, every birthday.
Clobberin is like snoozing right now, just so you know.
He's snoozing. Yeah. And she's like, I'm like, put the 4K. I'm like, doesn't this look awesome? Like, look how much better it is. She's like, I can't tell a difference. I'm just like, no. I'm like, it looks so much better. It's 4K. It's 60 frames a second. It's this, and like, you sure you really needed to waste all that money on this new TV? So
what'd you show her?
Well, I think Princess Bride probably because that's her favorite movie. But
you even have it in 4K?
Yeah, do I have that in 4K? Or then must have shown her some 4K stuff too.
Because I have it, but I had to import it. It's supposed to be coming soon in the US, but like,
must
you got to pick something good. You got to pick something really good to show off.
But she didn't care. She doesn't care like the sports or the. Some people don't care, right?
Then trade her in for a model that does.
No, well, hey, look! If she looks at me and can't tell the difference between old me and new me, I'm joking. Like from 30-year-old 30 years ago, me. Maybe that's a benefit, right?
There's your reasoning right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yep. Well.
Oh, JT, I have a.
Anyway.
What is my brand of TV?
Your old toys. What's up, bud?
I gotta go find out what TV I have.
No, I'm one of those guys. I want to see the grain. I want to feel like it's film, man. Like I'm watching a projected image. Like that's the way I love it.
Yeah. Cool.
I want to see all the details. I don't care if I see the wires. Like then I know I'm seeing everything. Damn it. Nothing's being hidden.
Some of these Blu-rays, Star Trek's too clear. I'm like, wow, I never needed to see this.
You're not the first person who said that to me, but to me it was like night and day watching the old DVDs of like TOS.
Oh no,
and then getting them Blu-rays. I was like, oh wow.
I love them though. No, they're great. I'm saying.
And TNG, my God, the work that those guys did on it, night and day, man. Just
they redid the show.
Like, well, they had to reconstruct. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you guys, I know Clobby may have been in on some of the Robert talks, but like, yeah, whenever he talks about it, how they had to basically search for all the negatives, and since the original stuff was done on like video and stuff like that on video chains, they had to go and recomposite all the special effects and stuff, which is easy now on computer, luckily, and next to nothing, just basically whatever the program cost. So luckily for them, like that, or us, I should say, that's the case. But they look amazing.
Well, they had to recut the whole show. It was basically like making the show from scratch again.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so they had to, all the scenes that were on film, they had to rescan, but all the special effects, like you said, they had to redo everything, all the special effects.
Well, it's because everything you see is a different element, right? Like the stars is one. Then, like if there's a planet or two, those are another elements. If there's a ship coming in, that's another element. If there's some kind of special effect in that shot, that's another element. So you've got like Robert was saying, you've got like 7 or 8 video machines daisy chained together making this work. Because how you would do that in optical is you would actually have a special camera that shoots 2 or 3 different passes together onto one piece of film, and that also degrades the quality on the final product. So what we're getting the benefit of here with the TNG set we got now is they actually have the original negatives for all those elements, and now they're all first generation put together in a computer instead of being, you know, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation away from whatever the original element was, plus on video, right?
I thought they did all the effects for that in CGI again, like just
no, later in the show, I believe a few were, and then like I think some of the other shows. That's the problem with DS9 and Voyager, is a lot of those effects are actually CGI. So they're actually stuck in not only 480, but they're also in whatever program they used at that time. So now there are guys who have talked to, like Bill Hunt and some other guys like Robert and stuff like that have talked about it. And they've said that a lot of these guys who were fans that worked on the show at the time that did the special effects, they saved the files. So they exist. Yeah. But they need to find a way to not only transfer them from this old type, convert them to some, you know, to either at least 1080p, and then combine
or just
them.
do them from scratch. You know, it might be cheaper these days.
That's the problem.
Redo them from scratch.
And you're talking a lot of money then still either way, but yeah.
But I think down the road it's going to get so much cheaper that it'll be economical to do, because I believe they lost money on TNG. But
that's the problem. I mean, look,
Mark. You got people that can do some amazing stuff at home on their home rigs. I mean, not a whole.
We're
series,
getting there.
So, you know, maybe in 10 to 20 years, I mean, right now I can make a book and print a book or do a video and, you know, have it look relatively professional just with the stuff that I have at home. Like my brother-in-law's is a video editor, and what it is the talent too. But he, you know, people always tell him, well, how, you want to charge me how much to shoot this? And you know, I can do this on my iPhone. He's like, well, go ahead, be my guest, shoot it on your iPhone and come back. And then if you could do that kind of job, I'll hire you. But you know, it's a talent, but you've got the tools today to do some amazing things. And I've been watching the upscales of DS9 that a fan did, and they're pretty darn good. I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than what's streaming out there. And the same thing with Babylon 5. I haven't rewatched them.
They remastered those though.
They remastered, but they scanned everything in 4K that they had in film, because that you can scan to 4K.
And then they converted the other stuff.
Converted the other stuff.
And most likely, that's my guess, just what would probably happen if they ever did do DS9 or Voyagers. They'd probably scan what they can in film and then probably convert all the effects, probably. But that's just a guess, because like you just said, they lost money on TNG. That's the biggest problem that I like whenever I ask Bill or any of those guys about it, is like the bigger problem is you've got, you know, what, 100 plus 200 some episodes in some cases or whatever these shows. You got to scan all those shows. Plus, that was the thing that Robert said was a nightmare when they were doing TNG, was finding a lot of this shit, because it wasn't always categorized very well. So like they were missing bits and pieces here and there, and they would find them
what a nightmare,
spliced into like other episodes and shit. Like he would said they would be getting down the line, then all of a sudden they'd find a shot or two from some other episode because it was in, you know, some flashback. It's like they literally would take the negative out of the one episode and put it in the other.
Oh my god.
Like like they didn't even do a dupe to do that with. That's why they couldn't find this stuff. But then fortunately when they're digging through stuff, they found the full uncut version of Measure of Man. And they were able to actually do that, and some of the other footage that Robert's talked about and stuff that was great. I mean, it's all there on the disc.
They did a beautiful job with that.
Yeah. I mean,
great job.
So
Labor of love. Yeah.
That's the thing, is like for them to actually go to that trouble for the rest of the shows, I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
I think it'll be, like everyone's saying in the chat, to AI upscale eventually, because that's the cheap way to go. And it's better, I have to say. And as this AI keeps getting better and better, I mean, the Photoshop tools. I remember I did a lot of artwork for, commercial stuff for our company. You know, you'd have to take the background out, I used to spend hours and hours and hours, and now the new version of Photoshop, you do select object, boom, and 90% of the time it gets the whole darn thing. Even the hair now too. There was all you'd have to do with masking and all these fancy things and brushes, and I mean they automate so much of it. It's just amazing. So I mean, the special effects we get today are just are gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't make the show good, but that part is nice at least. So we'll see.
Good night, Maddie's daddy.
Good night, Steve.
Good
Yep,
night,
our
buddy.
animators.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of up conversions yet. The only things that I've seen up converted that I didn't think looked too bad, or at least that maybe I thought couldn't have done, that somebody's always going to end up doing better, have been animated stuff, like older animated stuff. Like there's been a few, like I guess the He-Man series. I guess James we've gotten into little arguments about this, but he swears up and down they're up converts, and he would know.
Yeah,
but I even tried
like something like DS9 where there's nothing else out there, and then you watch the streaming versus the up convert. Then you see it's not perfect, and it's not, but at least if that's the only thing you can get, then I agree. Yeah, up convert's not the way to go if you can avoid it. But that's why Star Trek, the original series, was so easy to put out on Blu-ray, because they just had all the elements were shot on film and all the effects were done on film. So they just had to scan the sucker and clean it up. And thankfully they gave us both versions so we could flip the switch, new and old, unlike George Lucas said, nope, you're just going to get the new stuff. That's it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I have a big problem with them, because it's like, it's not even so much that, like, fine, do your special edition. I don't care. I love special editions. I love director's cut. I love alternate cuts. But I also like having the original preserved, right? So in that sense, like, I don't understand this. And then that half-assed attempt to put it as a special edition on that one release, and all it really was the Laserdisc rip.
Oh, that's so disappointing. Yeah, I almost bought that set, and then I said, then I read what it was. Probably Digital Bits, which is a great website for
Bill
DVDs.
Hunt, Digital Bits, yeah.
And I'm like, what? They just threw the Laserdisc version on there, and like, come on, really? Because the funny thing was, actually, my brother-in-law, who was just mentioning, worked on the special edition, so his name is in the Star Wars credits. He interviewed Mark. He was the camera guy for Mark Hamill and James Earl Jones. And I kept begging him to, like, why don't you just hire me? I'll just, carry the stuff. I'll just stand. I promise I won't say anything. So I still tease him about this day. And I'm like, I can bring some props or things, and I'm thinking like, oh, I could get Hamill or Vader to sign. I was going to bring some stuff. He's like, yeah, you're right. I should have brought you. And he's like, and the other guys that did it, some of the other characters had, props in the background from Star Wars. I'm like, see, I told you. And he's not even a Star Wars fan. So he was, the funny thing was he's like, he's got his name in the credits for that special, the remastered editions and, special features, the interviews. As I always joke about that. And his kids had never seen Star Wars. And he also was telling me Mark Hamill was, I probably shouldn't say too much, but he was not too happy about having to do special editions, because I guess he didn't get paid, really, unless it was in the movie theater, he didn't get paid, and his likeness, he didn't make money for the toys. So I guess I'm paraphrasing, he's like, well, anything for George needs this,
I'm sure George really needed it.
And then and as soon as they turned the camera on, he was all smiles. And the other thing James Earl Jones said when they walked in the room, he's like, don't ask me, I'm not going to say it. And you know what that was?
Oh, yeah.
That line was, he's like, I only say that for my grandkids. We'll just get that out of the way right now. But he said he was and both of them, he said Hamill and James Earl Jones were just fantastic people to hang out with, and they're very, extremely nice. But Hamill wasn't so keen on Lucas at that point. I guess this is before the re-releases, so I think I guess when they reshowed, when they showed the special editions, they got paid.
Well, a Hamill of all the other guys in them movies kind of got the shaft as far as career too,
right?
He did. Let me tell you, we think if things had gone according to the way they should have, Lucas should have never gotten rid of Gary Kurtz, and he should have kept Gary Kurtz, let him handle Return of the Jedi, and then after that, maybe let a few years go by before you go back and start doing some other chapters that take place after it, which is what was planned. And we should have gotten between 1983 and 1999, at least 3 more movies instead of prequels. Dude,
I agree.
Finish up the thing. He had a lot of plans, especially Gary Kurtz. Of course, Gary Kurtz is the reason that first movie. He's one of many reasons, and definitely one of the big reasons that the second movie are so great. And with him gone, Jedi, I'm just gonna say it, Jedi. Look, 2 of my biggest disappointments as a film goer in my life were Superman 2 and Return of the Jedi. As a kid, Superman the movie was the most important thing in the world to me as a movie. And to wait the 3 years I had to wait to see that mangled by Richard Lester. I know South Hines and all that other shit that went on. And then I never thought it could be worse. But then The Empire Strikes Back became my favorite movie in 1980. And I went and saw that like 20-something times, 15 times, whatever it is. And just as a kid, just shy of 19 years old, waiting 3 years to see Return of the Jedi, to walk in to see this Muppet Show and the Care Bears movie, and then a kind of a blatant rehash of the first film.
Yeah.
Again, now I'm much more well disposed towards it than I used to be, but I was pretty pissed off the first saw it, and I held a grudge on it for a long time. I didn't watch it a bazillion times over and over again like I did the first 2 movies. I like it now. I like Return of the Jedi now, warts and all. Still have some of the same criticisms, but that's why I don't care. The nub or any of that stuff, it didn't really matter to me that much. But it's still, if Gary Kurtz had been in charge of Return of the Jedi, as the great and my great buddy Michael French has talked to me at length about when I first met him, he's done a lot of work on that, a lot of research on that. It had just been, so much better. And then a few years later, if he'd have made just 3 more movies, and then after that, if he wanted to do prequels later. Look, if you want to do prequels after that, fine. But if we just gotten those 3 other movies,
wow, if we'd gotten
insult to injury, we have to have this shit sold off in 2015 to the rats, to the rat, and to have it destroyed. It's just one of the biggest cultural crimes ever.
I agree. You know what's weird? Most people probably would never pick Return of the Jedi as their favorite lightsaber battle. Not to go slightly off topic.
No, it's a good one.
Oh, I love the opening, and I love that end lightsaber battle. Oh, that's
I love Empire, don't get me wrong. That's the most emotional of all the lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
But the thing I think most people don't realize, and I don't even know if George realized it at the time when he was making it, because even in that mess, like, that's where he decided to make Leia the sister, which is the biggest fucking mistake ever, too, if you ask me. Because that's what he said.
A great moment, though.
Hate it.
It is, but he said he had Luke written into a corner, literally. And he couldn't figure out how to get him out. So he had Vader tempt him with turning Leia to the dark side. And he's like, I'll just make her his sister. That's the moment he decided to do that. But I don't
wasn't
think
planned from the beginning, yeah.
No, hell no. Anybody who ever tries to even convince you that all of Star Wars was planned from the beginning is buying into George Lucas's
especially
bullshit.
With that kiss between Leia and Luke.
Absolutely. Like that is, he's even admitted it in interviews.
Yeah, he wanted to be more of originally the Guinevere, Arthur, Lancelot type of love triangle is what he was going for.
Well, it's because there was never really meant to be any more after that. It was just supposed to be a one-shot deal, right? Like, that's why they blow up the Death Star. The only reason Vader was left alive was just a slight possibility. I wonder if there even wasn't a cut where Vader didn't get off the Death.
That's your dad's favorite cut.
Might be, yeah. Well, because we know that I would love to see some of the earlier cuts, because we know that Marcia Lucas saved it in her cut, but there was a couple cuts before that. Because George even went back and reshot a good 2/3 of the movie because of all the rear effects that were rear projection effects, and all the stuff that was shot on the earlier sound stages he didn't like. So, like, he went back and reshot all that shit, and while they were working on the new effects, and yeah, so, like, even that wasn't even the original version of the movie. But no, it just, to me, like, that fight with Vader and Luke in there, he doesn't even realize it, and I don't think a lot of people do until you think about it. Vader's fighting for Luke's soul, because why else would he stop Luke from killing Palpatine?
Yeah,
it makes no sense. Because that's exactly what Vader wants.
Right.
But at that moment,
he doesn't want to return to the dark side, you're saying.
Yeah, he's fighting Luke for his own soul, for Luke's soul at that point, basically going, no, you can't do this, because once you do this, you're going to do that. And he's taunting him and doing whatever. But at that point, that's where I think Lucas lost, like, what he was doing there. Because if you think about it, That's a very powerful fight, and I don't even think he realized it. I don't even think what Marquand realized it when he was shooting it. But it's like, you think about it for a moment. It's like when that moment that Vader stopped him from striking Palpatine, it wasn't so much that he was saving Palpatine; he was saving Luke.
Yeah,
that's great take on that scene. Yeah,
it's true. Good point. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what.
And then he has enough of him and tosses him down a pit.
Yeah.
Well, till he gets cloned and comes back in the last movie.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, we've done open talk tonight because we weren't able to review anything, fortunately.
Fortunately, I'll let Raquel hear that.
No, she will. She'll be saying it next week. Kidding, but we wish Raquel had been here with us tonight, folks. We would have had reviews for you, but
yeah, I miss her. I haven't talked to her in a long time.
Oh yeah, well, I'd love to have you come hang with us one of these days in the clubhouse or something if you can. But you stream a lot, dude, so we don't want to bug you like that. But you stream everywhere and all the time, more than even me, more than everybody probably. But she would love to talk to you again, and she's gonna be sorry if she wasn't here for you. She had a very important event with her book tonight, and so we're hoping that went well.
Yeah, send her my well wishes and congrats.
Indeed. And everyone, Raquel will be back here next week. We will have, let's see here, 4 more episodes. Back to the grind, reviewing all of real Star Trek. It's gonna take some years now. But we've got, and again, Captain Finity. I've already seen me went out tweeting about this because we talked to, I don't think were you here, Mark? You were here earlier. I got him going pretty well. He is the time police, he's the temporal police.
Yeah.
And the time travel police. And that Wrong's Darker Than Death or Night, I've got him on that one already. He's going to go after
it. Good. Oh, my goodness gracious. I watched that last night. That was, I won't say anything.
I was going to rage about that. Spoiler alert. But anyway, because the reason I mentioned that, Tom, is Raquel and I never discussed the episode before we review them. And so we never spoiler anything that way, so it's all like an organic response. And so everyone, don't tell Raquel what we said about that.
Yeah, we'll get court-martialed or
I already forgot it.
There you go. So anyway, but yeah, I guess we'll start moseying on out of here, my friends. I really appreciate you joining us. Oh, dude, thanks for being here.
It's fun hanging out at your house, man.
Yeah, man. Look, love it. I mean, I see how much you stream so much. I always feel bad. I would bug you more, but I would bug you and say, hey, come hang with me. But you get bugged and on every stream and you get all over the place stuff.
Well, usually the weekends I try to kick back a little bit more. I usually have my karaoke streams I hop on at this time. But
is that going on now? Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I figured I'd hang out with you guys for a little bit.
I'm glad you did, man.
Yeah, me too.
Cool
Mike, Clobberin, are you saying Tom gets around?
I get around.
Yes, he get around. He does.
Well, did you see Tom? Did you see the Picard clip with the Beach Boys music with the Enterprise going through the Death Star scene from the last?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's hysterical.
You can still
you have to DM that to me on Twitter.
DM that to him.
Doomcock had tweeted it at one point. It was so amazing.
That's pretty. Yeah,
at least it wasn't sabotage.
Someone did it to sabotage too, but the Beach Boys is better. Oh yeah, because spoiler, you didn't see that scene. They actually had in the last episode of Picard the Enterprise
all this stuff on Twitter. Yeah,
goes into the Borg cube and like the Millennium
really
Falcon. Yeah.
What karaoke is there? Karaoke going on?
Yeah, over at tonight I'll be heading over to Jedi Bill's.
Jedi Bill's, folks. So karaoke going on Saturday night. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Excuse me. And what else is going on, Tom? You got anything to tell us what you're doing? What you got coming up?
Probably just the wrap up tomorrow, if anything.
Oh yeah, tomorrow night at 8 Central, is it? Or is it?
Yep. Cool. Something like that. Usually, whenever Valiant decides to finally get done. Sometimes I hop on there too when he sends me a link.
Coolness. Well, that's excellent. Now, let's see here, Mark ED.
Yep. So we got the Sunday Night Geekery tomorrow night. So 10 p.m. Eastern. I might be traveling back from hanging out with the in-laws a little bit tomorrow night. So
I got you.
If I'm running late, I'll let everyone know on watch your Twitters. But I should be back hopefully by 10 p.m. Eastern to hang out and talk talk a lot of fun geekery for the week. And Tom hung out with us last week. I appreciate that. Was a lot of fun. And we started talking about it's a random show, and we started talking about all the good movies from 1984. And we spent a lot of time because there's a damn lot of good movies in 1984. Yeah,
that was fun. I almost would like to do that for almost every year. It'd be fun to do something.
That would be fun. Yeah. Well, this is 1983 here. I mean, it should be 2023 here now. So it's for an even number. We should, we should do 1983 next time, because it won't measure up to 1984, but it'll be interesting.
Oh heck no! 82, 82, 84, and 89. 86 is pretty big too, but 89
pretty good.
Well, the problem with 88 is they had the writer's strike, so it like fell off. There's some good flicks in 88, but there's not as many as some of the other years.
About 10, 12 years ago, I forget what Michael and I, Retro Blast, and we did count down our top 25 favorite movies of the 80s, and I thought this would be no problem. I'm like, 25, narrowing it down to 25 was rough, man. I was like, oh, we're going to do that again
Tell me about it.
We're going to be doing that again soon.
We actually I used to be part of this stream. We did all through the 80s and 90s, and I don't remember if we did the 70s or not, but we did every weekend we do a different year. And nice. Just doing it by year, doing top 10 of every year was tough.
We're going to do 25. We're going to do it. Michael and I are going to reprise that in a couple of months. So we're going to do it. Pick it 25. Ain't easy, man.
No, I hear you, brother.
So, all right. The geekery tomorrow night, everybody. And again, let's see here. What's going on? I've got Monday night, Mark C. Comics Talk. Well, before that, though, my buddy J-Man and I will be, I go to his channel. We're reviewing all of the Legion of Superheroes appearances from 1958 to 1989. That's going to take longer than Saturday Night Star Trek. On his channel with him, we're doing this in order. He's become, I created a Legion fan monster. I didn't realize that he'd never read it before, and he started reading it. Now he loves it. And so we're going to do that. It's a lot of fun. Reviewing comics is more fun than reviewing anything on YouTube, because you get to you can show stuff and nobody wants to copyright you. Oops, should have said that.
Oh, don't say that. Don't jinx yourself.
They'll start.
But it's fun.
I'm honestly surprised Disney. I'm surprised Disney and stuff hasn't yet with Marvel and stuff.
No, yeah. Well, they don't really. We don't really. It's not like a video or something. We just show.
No, but you'd be surprised. They go after still images on Twitter already. So.
Oh yeah, you never know. But anyway, there's that, of course. And then that's going to be a special time, 6 p.m. on J-Man's channel, our good buddy J-Man. And then at 9 p.m. I'll have my regular Monday night Mark C. Comics Talk. Welcoming back Mr. Jason Sandberg of the comic book Jupiter, the writer and artist of that, and it's a crowdfunded book. We're going to talk a little bit more about his comic and talk comics in general. He's a great dude. And of course, the rest of the regular shows this weekend, of course, Tom is on Midnight Edge After Dark. You all know the channel. We'll get the link up in there in case you haven't subbed, but they all have. Thank you. And a week from tomorrow night, back here on a 6 p.m. special again with J-Man. Another visit to Earth B, the wacky world of Bob Haney presentation. Another review by the wackiest, craziest writer who ever wrote comics. J-Man and I are just having a ball reviewing these insane nuts comics. This could be his most bonkers comic of all, and that's saying something compared to the ones we've done. We've only done like 6 of these so far. You're probably going to need to visit your local insane asylum after we get through with this one, folks. But we're having a lot of fun with it. So that's a week from Monday. We're having a great time with that. And I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. You've all been fantastic. Clobby, you also doing Death Wish 2 says that's Nicholas there. That's our buddy Nick.
Tuesday night,
yeah. So
you gonna try me? Sounds like you got a death wish.
Jimmy Page did the music in that one, so got a good soundtrack for that.
Yeah.
Now I will lightning fast. Our shout outs to everybody. Because we do that on every Saturday night. We can't stop now. We'll start with our wrenches. The great Derek K, Chris Persia, D. Bud Martin, Lord Thoth, J-Man, Hungry Boy, Stephen Callell, Matty's Daddy, Fanty Outsider, Max Redstone, and of course, everybody who's here with us tonight. Midnight's Oblivion, thank you. Your Old Toys, Dave Rayburn, my cousin. What's up, buddy? Anti-Derivative Jill, thank you so much. Shooter, Brian Hepburn, Classic Comics, Pleasant Valley Picker, Linrod, Mr. Angel, Joseph Dredd, Apollome's Minion and the Pupper, Matt G, Michael Beacom, and Cassandra, J.T. Kirk, Enigmatic Drop Bear, Simply Steve, Dave G. Sound, Mighty Arbots, Admiral Teague, Salty Traveling Sea, Wolfie, Zathras, carry my own stupid handwriting. Bush Pen Down. Thank you so much. Rod Thunderheart. Hungry Boy. I said you, sorry. Captain Infinity and Beyond. Victor Fontaine. Damn you. I can't read my own stupid handwriting. I suck. Oh, good Lord. Retro Nerd Girl. Dee Dee Myers. The Tetrarch of Apathy. And I care. And Andy Masterson. Just Another Red Shirt. John Shaggy Rupus. Cardinal Sin. J. Picasso. SP4H. Sean Carter. Blonde. Lot Filler Reviews. Your handwriting sucks. Grim. Lieutenant Clinton. Oh my goodness. Claude Selling. Scipio. Almost done. First World Comics. Jonah Hex. Keely Chow, Roll Tide. Bubba Doom 1. Nerad and Axamanda Bear. DJ Ronnie G. Fugman 4. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. And I will play out the end credits, of course, after these important messages. Good night, everybody. Keep on trekking. And keep on clobbering.
We about alone.
Surely that.
Scotty, as good as your word.
Aye, sir. The more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain.
It is green.
No bloody A, B, C, or D.
And they probably redesigned the whole sick bay, too. I know engineers, they love to change things.
Your agonizer, please.
It's Clobberin time!
The Defiant. Adrift, but salvageable. Tough little ship. Little.
It's Clobberin time!
I just love Clobberin time!